Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast. I'm your host for this week's episode, Lucas Holland, and I am joined by the maybe blurry, maybe not blurry deciding, Discord decident, Karl Smallwood.
Hello, and Lucas, before we get crack-a-lacking, I just have to say, I saw something earlier that made me think of you, and I wanted to bring it up on the podcast to get your live reaction.
Right, okay, and it's not just my water bottle, is it, that looks like
It's
me?
not that now. So when I was on Reddit earlier, before we started recording, just like I'm on my computer, I've got 5 minutes, so I'll just go on Reddit, see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a TikTok, and there's like weird like dudes who are like, oh, here's that to be an alpha male.
Yeah, weird dude that's an alpha. Oh, no.
Right?
No.
So it was like a video from like TikTok or Instagram or something shared on Reddit. And the guy in it is clearly, or seems to be using, like a filter that makes his top half bigger to make it look like he's got like, broader shoulders and bigger biceps. Right. And the reason that you can tell is because every time he lifts his hands above his waist, because he stands like stock still in all his videos, is the moment he lifts his hands above his waist by accident, his hands turn ginormous. And all I could think of is the lawyer from
Nobody look! Nobody look! Nobody look!
And I just wanted to ask, like, as someone who's watched a lot of Always Sunny, is that the single greatest line read in the entire show?
It's up there, right? Is there
a line read better than Nobody Look from the lawyer with giant hands?
There's a lot,
like, especially when it's followed by him going, that man, and his like giant rubber hand flies off.
There's a lot of lines, especially by Dennis, that are like absolutely top tier. And one of my favorites is just really like tiny little moment that a lot of people do single out, and it's just when they move to the suburbs and they're getting like slowly more frustrated over time, and like the neighbor is like, oh, hot one today again, and it just Dennis at one point turns around and is like, yeah.
That's the episode I love as well, because that is probably the episode with the most like quotable lines out of context, like where it just serves in the mac and cheese and he immediately throws it straight across the room, right?
And just when
the guy comes up and says, "Hey, what's up?" and then you see Mac do the, "Folks, that guy's problem.
Yeah,
I was ready to attack."
And just
that's what it reminded me. Like, do you like the way Mac poses when he gets buff? Yeah, he's always posing like to try and show off his pecs. That's how the guy in the video is, but because he's not moving, I'm like, what the fuck is this? You go to the comments. Yeah, he looks like he's got a filter to make his biceps bigger. Look at his hands at like 13 seconds in, and his hands turn ginormous. It's like, man, you really teach us how to be an alpha there, bro.
Yeah, Hayden saying, "Look at me when you're talking to me," as well. Another great line. And just another one from the Suburbs episode of like Dennis being like, "You ever been in a storm, Ollie? A true storm?" And just strips off and just like fully naked in the garden, like screaming at this man. And it obviously is like in his imagination, but just he still, acts it out, right? And it's incredible.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I wanted to get your live reaction to it because I saw it like 5 minutes before we started recording. I went, "Oh, Luke's gonna love this." Also, it's the 9-year anniversary of Harambe being shot.
Oh, 1 hour. No.
I've been. I've stood where it happened. I've stood in the Cincinnati Zoo.
I know. And didn't they like get really pissy at people for like taking pictures and being like
Cincinnati Zoo
and stuff? Like
in specific regards to Harambe, it's like Disneyland and those weirdos who dress up like the characters and try and act out their fantasies of
adults, we should say.
Yes, the adults who do that. Where in Cincinnati Zoo, they have a single mention of Harambe on one small wall. And I asked like the person who was carrying around, like, surely like this was a big news event. Surely there'd be more about it than there was. But people kept coming in and leaving tributes and also harassing the staff saying you killed Harambe. It's like, okay, that's funny in your head or to say it on the internet, but in real life, you're just upsetting kids who are there to see the animals in the zoo.
Yeah, see, I was more hoping it would be kind of like people doing the Grant Gustin at the grave pose and like, making a silly meme out of it and moving on, not harassing fucking staff.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, it was shit what happened. You should have let the kid die. I mean, what? But, that was a tragic event. That was a tragic event. And I can't imagine the lives that the staff had to live during those years where like people were just on it, right? Like
we had to delete the social media for 5 years because literally every post that the site, the Cincinnati Zoo had ever made was inundated with people saying like Harambe would love this, or people outright harassing them because there's just fucking weirdos out there who just like you know the Michael Scott where it's like, well, I'm just going to escalate to gun violence because that way that the joke's going to be super funny. The internet is full of people like that who don't realize that the joke isn't funny anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to keep escalating the joke. But speaking of like keep escalating and stuff that's not funny, what are we talking about today? And what's this podcast from? What's this format?
Jesus Christ, Carl's like, let's skip the entire intro.
Yeah,
what the fuck, man?
Like, what's the format of the concept? Come on.
The concept
introduce people to it.
Is that both Carl and I, for the podcast, we bring a subject forward of our own choosing, and sometimes we try and collaborate and bring things that are relevant to one another, maybe like today. But other times we just bring two random wikis, and your, decision as an audience is to decide which wiki won this week, which just means which wiki brought the best discussion for last week's podcast. And
yes,
both of us are just, we ultimately have fun with this, but ultimately I am starting to get a little bit frustrated.
Because I won again.
Carl keeps fucking winning.
Do you know what, Lucas? You need to step up your conversation game.
I know, but I'm just excited about Nintendo and wanted to talk about Donkey Kong, goddammit.
So the two topics we brought forward were Donkey Kong and Frankenstein's monster.
Which ultimately, I know which one of them leads to a more interesting discussion, but I'm just hyped because Switch 2 is going out soon.
But the thing is, just because my particular wiki won doesn't mean that you didn't contribute to the interesting conversation.
I might have made that conversation more interesting than I made my own, You
exactly. That's why, it's a friendly competition between us both, but I am still winning.
Carl gets the internet points once again.
I do. Well done. Big internet points. Harambe would have loved it.
And speaking of internet points, somebody else gets internet points this week, and that is Bilbo, our pet of the week.
Not Bleepo.
No, Carl turned around to me, and we were like, "Oh, what's the pet of the week today?" I just normally consult Carl to make sure, and Carl was like, "Oh, I think it's this turtle called Bleepo." Wait,
it's a tortoise called Bilbo, but you're just looking out the corner of my eye, like scrolling, and some turtle called Bleepo won, and it's like, looks like, no, it's a tortoise called Bilbo, and you know what? Bleepo is a way better name for a tortoise. I'd call a tortoise Bleepo.
Good old Bilbo. But yeah, apparently according to Carl, Bilbo. And what I want to ask is, I have stream mode on all my Discord, so I don't know the actual name of the person that submitted this pic. But to the person who submitted this picture, I want to know, just as I extend this picture, what did the turtle in the back do to not get submitted this week? Because there's two turtles in this picture and only Bilbo gets mentioned.
It was like that picture someone posted on Tumblr, isn't there? It's like, it's a picture of two cats, like my son Cheese and his brother, Frank. It's like, why is Frank not given the designation of son as well? It's like, I don't like him.
Because, we have had times where we've had, I think it was literally two cats, one pet of the week concurrently. Two of them wrestling each other and they both got credit. And for some reason, just turtle number 2, Bleepo, in the background got no credit.
You know what? That turtle's Bleepo. It's Bleepo the turtle.
Oh, but before we make it into the wikis that we have brought this week, we just also have to shout out the people who support us on our amazing shout-out tier.
I'm waiting for someone to call himself fucking Bleepo the tortoise now.
Bleepo the turtle.
Justice for Bleepo the tortoise.
Of course, you can see the names above us, where all of the Patreon producers, as I like to call them, have been on the $10 tier.
Our big PPs,
the Bleepos. But
that's staying in. Join you just Lucas. Join you can just think we've just created law.
Yeah.
We just created some law there, baby.
We created about 3 different types of Bleepo lore in one go, but the shout-outs, if you'll go through them with me, Carl, go to M. Chambers.
Followed by Fallopian Starship, prevents the womb of doom. Also, I'm calling it now, we're calling the people who do this our big PPs.
Our big
Patreon producers.
Our big PPs.
So if you want a big PP, join us over on Patreon.
The Patreon producers are the people who are in the names above us on the Patreon podcast. On the podcast.
Well, okay, these are the Patreon executive producers, then. These are the peps.
The peps.
These are the
Okay.
peepos.
The good old peps include Kicking Bucket enjoys the bit, but they are subscribed to other patrons, so this long-winded name needs to be changed at some point.
And then we have Tam McKee,
Lucille DeSteele,
Marcus, Peppy
B of
Marcus.
Awesome, with I believe 5 little B emojis afterwards.
That's next week when there's more bees. And then Woo's Willius Wonka,
Lam DeLama,
Little Ghost,
and Judge Dredd.
Oh, let's go.
And
Right, we're doing it. If you want to become a PP or a Peppo or a Bleepo, join us over on.
Just whichever Carl decides. But, you know, if you are...
If I was drunk right now, I would 100% log into the Patreon and change the tier names to Bleepo and Beepo. That's something I would do, and you wouldn't notice for like 6 weeks. Like, why is the Patreon tiers at Bleepo?
Next time I go to check all of the tier names and stuff, right, for next month, I'd be like, wait, what the fuck's going on?
I do that so much. Like the other day, I went to the botanical gardens with a friend of mine. And I took a picture next to a big tree, and my friend just went, small wood with a big wood. I went, I'm posting that. And she went, where? I went, I'm definitely posting. And I posted on like the official Fact Fiend account on the community tab. The first post I've made on there in 4 years, and it's just me next to a tree with the caption, big wood with a small wood.
That's excellent. But yeah,
it's just funny, right? Because there's loads of comments, and I'm like, the fuck is this?
What is this? This is a fucking Instagram post. What are you doing, Carl? Oh dear, oh dear.
It was funny at the time, and you know, if it makes me giggle, it's enough.
It is. And Carl, you know, just a reminder to everyone to like, subscribe, give us a review on podcast services, all that good jazz. Give us some good bleepos in chat, and if you do want to give us some super chats, then we will, of course, read them before the end of the podcast.
Some super PPs. Like, it's probably
Stop it,
funny,
Carl.
I think.
Carl, bring us your wiki. Bring us your wiki.
I'm thinking it's gonna be funny for at least half an hour.
Okay, but
if I spread them out, so I'm gonna spread out the bleepos and the peepos now, and
you need to spread them out
for discussion.
But Jake in chat, you'll find out where Vessel is in the thumbnail when I bring my wiki. But first, we've got to discuss Carl's wiki for the week.
Yeah, so Lucas, you told me you were bringing forward for discussion the wiki entry on the band Sleep Token. And I was like, okay.
Spoiler, surprise, Carl.
It's in the thumbnail, right? So, I'm going to go find a wiki on a band. Because, like, Sleep Token, from my familiarity with them, are, like, super legit in the sense that it's grassroots movement. Like, they've built up their fan base organically. And, it's just through genuine artistry and skill. I thought, let's bring forward for discussion on my end a band that are the exact opposite.
Oh, you bring us an industry plant.
The most industry of industry plants. So I brought forward the band Tramp Stamps.
Tramp Stamps.
So how familiar are you with the band Tramp Stamps?
Don't think I'm familiar at all, which means someone's going to remind me of a video where we talked about it 3 years ago, but I don't remember being familiar with them at all.
We've talked about it once, but maybe the details elude you at the moment. So, thanks to the format of Wiki Weekends, where we go through a wiki entry, Wikipedia's got a back here. So, Tramp Stamps were, past tense, an American pop-punk band from Nashville, Tennessee. The trio consisted of lead singer Marissa Mano, guitarist Caroline Baker, and drummer Paige Blue. After initially gaining popularity on the platform TikTok, the group has received backlash for controversial lyrical content, usage of punk culture aesthetics without understanding of their meanings, and alleged ties to the commercial music industry. So do you understand industry plant? This is the most industry plant of industry plants.
And then going along the misunderstanding of punk as well is...
I'm sure you've seen that, the guy who went to the punk show with...
No, I was just going to talk about the constant reel of social media posts that you see, especially far-right people not understanding what the meaning of punk is.
Oh, yeah, but they say, it's real punk to, bend over backwards and lick the shit-covered boot heel of Donald Trump. It's it's really not.
People getting really pissy that, Rage Against the Machine are supporting abortion rights, or, fucking Green Day are saying I don't want a MAGA America. And I said, do you obviously they're not the most punk of punk bands, but they're both they've got punk roots, right? And
of course, yeah.
dear God, do you not understand what punk means? Like, it is anti-establishment. Like,
Well, the
what the
weirdest
fuck?
one is Bruce Springsteen. Where Bruce Springsteen, like his song "Born in the USA," is like a deliberate like teardown of like American like ideals, and it's like about like the Vietnam War, and it's like it's not the USA that he grew up in or imagined or is
Hmm.
proud of. And he's had to spend like the last 50 fucking years seeing that song used unironically as a celebration of America.
See, I'm not really familiar with Bruce at all, so like I'm completely unaware of that. Yeah, that's interesting though. Of like it goes back to even 50 plus years ago of people just misrepresenting what artists are meaning behind the songs, and probably way before that, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But it's real bad, and it's like stuff like because grunge, like grunge is similar to punk in a way. Like they all share like similar roots of just like anti-establishment and non-conformity. Like there's a very famous story about Kurt Cobain where he stopped a show dead
Mm-hmm.
because like two guys in the front were harassing a woman, and he refused to
Right, yeah.
continue the show until they were kicked the fuck out. And I was like, what's he doing? Why does he care? And he's like, why do you not think he cares about women?
Yeah, and like another one of those of like I know that it's quite famous that My Chemical Romance as being one of those like people that got pushed to the front of the emo movement, so to speak. There was a lot of talk around like self harm and stuff, and they constantly during like many gigs, including the one I went to in like their revival tour.
Mhm.
So just a reminder that we do not fucking endorse any of this shit. Please, like, love yourself and try and battle through anything that you're going through. Like, do not self harm in any way. And just there became that weird mentality that maybe like the bands, like people are doing it in the band's name, and the artists are just like, no, that's really fucked up. Do
We
not
want
do
to
this
stay
shit.
alive for as long as possible so you can come to our shows, buy our t-shirts, and listen to our albums.
Yeah, yeah, and just generally, they don't wish ill on those people in
Yeah, I'm
general.
being
But
being
yeah,
facetious
I
next.
know. Yeah,
It's a heavy topic, but yeah, I guess British sarcasm is always
I just want to make
trap.
sure that people know that you're saying that in a joking manner as well.
Yes, but we continue now with the discussion of tramp stamps. It's a very short Wikipedia article, so we'll be referring to a Vox article here written by one Rebecca Jennings for like more details. But the history of the band is all three members have worked in the music industry prior to the band's formation.
Which is not irregular. There are many
Session
people.
musicians. One of my favorite bands, Toto. Every single one of them was a session musician, and one day they were sat there like, we've just made like some singer $1 million by playing basically all the music on their album. Should we make a band and sing it ourselves?
Yeah, there are many people who are session musicians, writers, producers.
Sia, she used to write songs.
Yeah,
Still does, presumably. Pharrell
Chaperone as
Williams.
well, right? Was like on the back end of things and realized like, hey, I want to try and get in front. And there's a lot of stories like that. I think Lady Gaga as well, and there's also just supergroups where people from other well-known bands all come together to make a new band. Like it's definitely not unheard of to be working in the industry. Pharrell Williams, I think, like made like dozens of number one hits, and was like, why am I not just the person doing this?
Doing it myself, right?
Yeah.
And it's worth noting that to have a description of the band's like style and sound, the band played pop punk, often merging elements of pop music and skate punk. Tramp Stamp's music has been characterized by Vice News as feminist punk and queer punk by the Rolling Stone. Since 2020, the band had released music through their own label, Make Tampons Free.
And when you say queer punk, this isn't like the time JoJo Siwa tried to like say that she's redefined gay music or anything, right? Is it that bad?
It was. It's that bad. Where they were like, it's like when I say the industry plants of industry plants.
Yeah.
Like, see, so it's one thing of maybe like, oh, maybe they were in like a small band, like Blink-182 were in a band before they became a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a common thing, right? And
yeah.
just it happened. They weren't in bands, Lucas. They were like just deep in the industry. So, for example, one member had worked as a songwriter and produced music that had appeared on shows like MTV, DirecTV, Stars, and advertisements for Apple and Sephora. Baker and Mano, the other two members of the band, were signed on deals with Dr. Luke's publishing company.
I
And if you don't know the name Dr. Luke, all you need to know
do
is he's
not.
the guy that Kesha's like, yeah, this dude sexually assaulted me. I don't want to be on his album or his record label anymore.
Oh no.
And they were
Okay.
positioning themselves as punk, and specifically queer punk. Who, like, were all about girl power, rah, rah, rah. And they were already working for the fucking man, had a massive publishing company behind them, and that publishing company was owned by a sex pest.
Yeah, and all of those things aside, though both can still be true, right? It's like a lot of musicians struggle to find labels, and a lot of those times it's like, hey, even people would either go with like people who would give them a chance, even if they don't agree with them as people, because hey, it's hard to find jobs, and also punk bands are also under labels because hey, it's better to put out their music and it to be listened to than to not get the message across at all. That's why a lot of punk bands lie and a lot don't. So yeah, it's not completely a lost cause just yet.
But now we'll go over to the Vox article mentioned earlier. So let's backtrack. In November, the Nashville-based band debuted on TikTok featuring 3 women in their 20s dressed in the trappings of stereotypical alt-light Zoomers, hair dyed a rainbow of purple, pink, and blue, dolled up in Y2K fast fashion. On their origin story, I quote, 3 girls got drunk at a bar and wrote a song. They released auto-tuned covers of Blink-182's All the Small Things, and Weezer's Beverly Hills came out with merch whose aesthetic was vaguely Riot Girl meets Mean Girls, freestyled about clitorises and joked about their traumas.
My biggest question is like, how the fuck did these not appear on my music recommendations? Because that vibe sounds like just what I listen to.
And that's the thing. It sounds good, but it also sounds suspiciously too good, right?
Yes.
It sounds suspiciously manufactured. So, on April 9th, they debuted their latest song, I'd Rather Die. Here are some sample lyrics. I can't remember the last time I slept with someone I actually liked and he went down on me. I can't recall a memory of someone driving home and not asking for a blowjob. I'd rather die than hook up with another straight white guy. It was like the rest of the tramp stamps, overt, a little corny, a little on the nose, a little try hard, a little off. Then a predictable cycle happened. Multiple TikTokers made videos accusing the group of being industry plants, citing the fact their PR-ready website and Instagram page were far too polished for a seemingly independent trio of musicians who happened to meet each other at a bar. Because that's the thing as well. Like, oh, we met at a bar and started a band. Why do you have a professional grade website that's like got the backing of a fucking record label?
Yeah, especially when it's like punk vibes, right? Like, why are you so professional, but also, you're just some punk girls that met at a bar?
Yeah. And it's like, do you ever see, it was like, there's all those like music talent shows where someone simultaneously tries to audition for The Voice and X Factor at the same time?
Right, okay, yeah.
Remember this, like, and The Voice is like aimed at people who never had their chance. Like, oh, some of them were like musicians or backup singers or performers, but it's like, oh, you never, for whatever reason, succeeded because maybe the way you look, dress, present yourself. So the show The Voice is just, we just want to hear your voice.
Well,
and that's how you're going to prove that you can be a success. Whereas X Factor is more, like, a random person off the street can walk in and prove that they've got the X Factor.
That's the thing behind the name, the X Factor, right? It's not that you have the voice like The Voice, it's that you have everything. You have that X Factor that's going to make you stand above the rest.
Yeah, and there was a lady who was simultaneously auditioning on both shows, and she told a different backstory on each show.
And most of the time, like, that's not even necessarily on the contestants. Sure, people learned over time, you'll do better with a backstory, so it started becoming, like, kind of cyclical over time of, like, the people with a backstory got pushed more, so people made up better backstories, so then that got pushed even more, etc., etc. But a lot of the time people talk about, especially the early days, where the producers are like, you're talented, give us a backstory, and like, what do you mean? Like, well, give us a tragic backstory, because that's how we're going to sell you. Like, make it up.
Yeah. And I remember, I don't know which one of the shows it was, because there was loads of shows of that ilk, like Pop Stars and Sing Stars and The Rivals
Pop
and stuff.
Idol, yeah.
Do you remember the story of Rick Waller?
Rick Waller. Is that the
Rick Waller,
singer guy?
Yeah, and he was known because he was like quite overweight.
Yeah.
And he did really, really well. And there's like, it's one of those persistent theories that the producers didn't want him to win. And he's talked about the fact that they didn't want him to win because he didn't present as a traditional pop star. He wasn't someone you could easily sell.
And also the music that he sang is not particularly mainstream, yeah.
But there was a grassroots movement of just make the fat dude the winner of this show to see him try and position him as a pop star. See them try and make him the next fucking like Beyonce or something. Let's just see, that'd be really funny. And he talks about how, yeah, they kept like underplaying me, not giving me a lot of screen time because they couldn't convince people not to vote for me.
Yeah.
And he ended up coming like 4th or something like that.
And then he got like a smash hit first album and dropped off the face of the planet like a lot of them do.
As they all do, yeah.
And it's ultimately just not only hard to sell that guy as like a mainstream pop artist, he wasn't even pop, he was doing opera singing.
Yeah, and there was like Susan Boyle as well, where she was specifically pitched because she wasn't conventionally attractive, which was like its own sort of insidious and dickish to her. Although it did result in the greatest hashtag on Twitter in Twitter history of Sue's album party, which when read in like one run-on sentence is just Sue's anal bum party.
And there was also like that year or two that they spent like transforming Susan Boyle, quote unquote, into like someone who was more attractive and more like able to be sellable, I guess, to an audience. Even though she'd done the job of being like, hey, actually, it doesn't matter whether you all laugh at me when I walk on stage because I've got a fucking phenomenal voice. Like, she sold herself that first audition, right?
Yeah, but like, still when she won, they still tried to package her as a traditional star. But either way, you know, that's just it's a very insidious, awful industry, and we'll no doubt continue to rag on it throughout the rest of this video. But a predictable cycle happened. Multiple TikTokers made videos accusing the group being industry plants, so citing their oddly professional-looking like Instagram and PR contact ready band page and website. The user Hard Cope dug into the members and found that lead singer Marissa Maino was, until 2020, performing as a solo pop artist under a more standard issue glam persona. Drummer Paige Blue had written and produced commercial music for years. They said it's almost like it's a bunch of people who were like theatre majors and shit who had rich parents, and now they're co-opting the Riot Girl aesthetic that people literally dedicate their lives to for money.
Yeah. And it happens a lot, these accusations, and they're not necessarily like always true, but I know that one that kind of, I don't necessarily know whether it never stuck in terms of the accusations, or just maybe people didn't care enough, maybe, I'm not sure. But I know that Youngblood, they got a lot of shit for being like an industry plant or being a nepo baby and stuff, and maybe just, you know, they had kind of like a lot of weird accusations thrown towards them, but they're still making music, right? So it's not necessarily that these accusations just happen unfounded and
then as well, like they're not necessarily the death knell for a band, but this band specifically, because they so heavily lean into, hey, we're like an alt punk band and we like stand for women's rights, and people start digging into like the backstory. Here's the thing. They did this under their own names when people just Google their name and look at their Twitter profiles. And they found some interesting things, Lucas. So that's when the accusations that the band was legitimately problematic started to come in. Once more, TikTokers, as well as users on Reddit and Twitter, started digging, and they found both guitarist Caroline Baker and Maino have deals with Prescription Songs, which is owned by Dr. Luke, who was credibly accused by Kesha of sexual assault. Also, shout outs to Kesha for getting like 1 billion streams on Spotify with TikTok, and using like the diamond plaque they sent her, pouring Jack Daniels in it and brushing her teeth with it. What a fucking legend. Also, shout outs to Pitbull. Did you see this with Timber? So Timber, like the Pitbull Kesha song.
No, but go on.
For some reason on YouTube just said Pitbull and not Kesha. And someone tweeted at Pitbull saying, Pitbull, why is Kesha's name not on Timber anymore? Didn't she sing on it? And Pitbull tweeted back of like, this is a problem. Team Pitbull is on it. And an hour later, her name was back on the video. And probably Pitbull is like a really wholesome guy. My friend went to one of his shows and told me it was the single greatest musical performance they've ever seen.
It's really weird of like, out of all the people you would assume is not wholesome vibes, it's probably Pitbull. And just like, the entire persona and vibe that they put out and the music and stuff, you would
Mr. Worldwide,
assume
baby.
like grade A asshole, but it just apparently the concerts and stuff are like the most hype shit where everyone just brings bald
Yep.
caps, balls the
Yes.
fuck out. And
My
he's just
friend,
like
when he went,
apparently this really wholesome dude that's just like chilling out and enjoying his success.
yeah, so when my friend went, they were looking for where the show was, and they said the closer they got to the show, the more people wearing suits and bald caps they bumped into.
Yeah, it's
And
such a crazy cool fan base apparently.
and when they got there, Pitbull even commented on the fact everyone was wearing bald caps. Like, I see some people out there wearing bald caps. Now you get a small glimpse into how I feel every day. Fantastic. But we continue. So, owned by Dr. Luke, others found several tweets of Mano's in which she, among other things, used the N word and implied that she supported Donald Trump. How punk!
Excellent, yeah.
They also criticised the song I'd Rather Die, which they've argued advocates for sexual coercion in its lyrics that complain about men who can't get it up because of alcohol. By far, the biggest critique to the band, though, has been centred around its alleged inauthenticity, which I'd argue is a much graver transgression for young fans than a past tweet or association with problematic figures.
I mean, I'm still not really understanding. Like, if a punk girl band bring out a song about like men not being able to get it up, like I don't necessarily see the problem with that.
It's more though that like it's what other shit can we add onto this pile of shit?
Already bad vibes and is adding on to that. But if it was a legitimate like punk girl band, I'd be like, yeah, fuck the men, like go for it.
Yeah. But I'd argue if you're positioning yourself as like, a feminist like group, partnering with a dude credibly accused of sexual assault is probably a bad move. That's what happened to Katy Perry, right? Where Katy Perry released that album and it's like, oh, it's a girl power album. It's like, who produced it? Dr. Luke. And Kesha's like, the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, and also just a lot of that was feminism, right? That really came across as not good examples of quote unquote feminism.
Also, as well, yeah, like good on. A good example of this is Katy Perry herself. So, anyone out there is curious, just go Google Katy Perry's country music singing career.
The Christian rock girl.
Christian rock country singing career.
Yeah.
And she was a country singer who did Christian rock, and then she got to like 18, and a record label went, "You've got massive tits. Let's do something about that." And they took her to a record label, and the record label had "I Kissed a Girl" pre-written and said, "Sing this," and that was it.
And now she's launching herself into space, quote, maybe space, probably not space.
She's gone to space, right? She went there for 5 minutes. The best
questionable
one is,
space, but like quoting it all down to like feminism and the first like female astronaut. Please piss off, you awful billionaire dickheads.
Yeah, like read the room.
Yeah.
The best one of those is Lady Gaga. So, like, Lady Gaga, a legitimately fantastic performer, a great person, all things told. Like, she has a very dedicated and committed fan base. But there is, like, a very persistent rumor I'm inclined to believe, because industry insiders have, like, all but confirmed it, Lady Gaga's, like, initial bizarre public persona, as much as she tries to claim that was just her, she was a theatre kid in New York. Like, that persona just was decided on in a meeting when they were trying to figure out how do we pitch you to people. Why don't we just make you the weird one?
So it was one of those things where she was already extremely talented and had like I believe there's a lot of clips out there of her like singing and playing piano and stuff and doing like way more kind of power ballad classical.
Yeah, I think she's a fantastic performer with a very good voice.
Excellent musician and performer. But they went like, how do we position you in a market kind of thing, and that's where it changed.
The similar thing was a documentary on Justin Bieber. They talk about something similar where Justin Bieber is legitimately fantastic performer and an incredibly talented musician. And they have like this video of him, like he's like 11 years old playing the drums, and he's fucking just absolutely wailing on these drums.
Right, yeah.
And they talked about how, like, okay, what do we do with Justin Bieber? Because they said, well, we can either, like, I don't know what the term that would sound less insidious here is, groom him.
Well, that was like, when he gets his job, right?
Yeah.
sorry.
Which he did work.
That was a poor taste joke, I'm sorry.
When he's like 25 and we can position him as like, a singer.
Yeah.
A proper pop star. Or we can right now position him as a tween pop star, get all the money that way, and then if his career stalls or with the money he makes, reinventing down the line.
Well,
And they do this on camera. They talk about it on camera. They admit that's what they're going to do. Like, we saw like he had an appeal with a certain audience, and if we'd have waited 10 years and like discovered him then, like think like Ed Sheeran, he could have been like America's answer to Ed Sheeran if they'd waited 10 years. But it's like, we can still do that. But right now, we can position him as a tween pop star and make millions right now.
I think probably.
And he can just reinvent it, as he did, right? He reinvented himself as a more
and he literally collaborated
musician.
with Ed Sheeran for one of his most popular songs, Love Yourself. And like, you look at the opposite side, where like kind of Hannah Montana to Miley Cyrus, right? Where it's a way more extreme change of persona and like literal like name change, entire like genre change to an extent, and like Miley Cyrus all of a sudden went from being Hannah Montana, this Disney Channel dedicated to children pop star playing at arenas for kids, to like, hey, I'm Miley Cyrus, I'm an adult now, sex.
Oh, Sabrina Carpenter, right? She was a Disney singer. Did the same pivot.
I don't think she was like performing as a singer much like in Disney Channel days though.
Yeah, Ariana Grande.
Different, but yeah.
Don't forget Ariana Grande, the last race bender. Got Sam and Cat, right? I still think that's one of the hardest I've made you laugh in a video. And I sent you that image of Ariana Grande, the last race. And it's like all the pictures of when Ariana Grande is like, people don't know Ariana Grande over the years has positioned herself as multiple different races.
But the fact that race bender picture includes fake photoshopped images of like races she didn't pretend to try, but she's done it so many times that I failed to question that in the moment.
You couldn't tell which ones are real. And the only thing that really gives it away is the Navi one, where it's Naviana Grande. Yeah. She's blue.
But like the fact that she's legitimately tried to like pull herself off in different markets with like basically trying to race swap herself in real time is fascinating.
But back to Tramp Stamp now. Commenters proceeded to post the most ruthless owns they could think of on the band's like official Instagram page, with the single descriptor here that I think is the most brutal, calling them BuzzFeed core. Which is like brutal for a punk band, right? In response, the band posted a statement to their Instagram that began, "Hi fuckers," and goes on to scorch cancel culture and claim that the band is actually totally independent, you guys, because they started their own label called Make Tampons Free under a company called Artists Without Labels.
Because every punk artist starts their posts with, "Hi fuckers."
But also as well, they say, yeah, we're completely independent because we're literally under a company called Artists Without a Label. They do not mention that Artists Without a Label is owned by the Cobalt Music Group, the largest music publishing company on earth.
Oh my fucking word.
Lucas, he goes down, right?
Oh no. Oh, because like I've not heard of like that publishing label, but the biggest on earth, Jesus Christ, like
they're the ones like the bigger ones, right? They're always the ones that you never heard of.
Yeah, that's the thing is like
that's how you get to be a big company that owns everything.
Yeah, the biggest companies are the ones you've never actually heard of.
And it just continues, like I said, like the band's just like shuttered in like 2021. That's the last time they had anything.
And presumably they're still. They didn't like publicly quit or anything. They just
stopped making music, and presumably they're still working in the industry in some way. But it's like, yeah,
there's many ways, as we've mentioned through like a dozen artists at this point, like in the last half hour. There's many ways to successfully do it.
Just don't try and position yourself as punk.
Punk.
That's the one. Where it's going to be immediately obvious that you're not punk.
Punk. That's just the one thing that you can't do as like coming out of the industry is like, yeah, we're anti-establishment and fuck the industry, says people inside of the industry.
Yeah. It's like the Tim Robinson bit, isn't it? Like he's wearing the fucking hot dog outfit. It's like we're all looking for the guy who did this.
Yeah, and again, can be a punk band that signs to a label. Like I'm sure
Rage Against the Machine did.
I'm sure
they talked about it as well. They mention like when they get asked, like, will you operate under a massive record label? It's like, yeah. We as a band sat down and decided we'd rather have more people listen to our music and use the money that we made to get a message out there and support the causes that we believe in than we would struggle on the road.
Yeah, like as I was about to say, like I'm sure that like both Rage Against the Machine and Green Day and every other mainstream punk band that you can think of, and like, even things like Nirvana, right, where it's not punk but they were like grunge and anti-establishment still. Like,
Yeah,
they all signed to labels under the idea that, hey, we're living under a capitalist world. Like, nothing's going to be perfect. We might as well get our music out to people rather than just
we're gonna
live in the shadows.
We can't entirely buck the system because then no fuck's gonna listen to our stuff. And I'm reminded of speaking of Nirvana. There's like their first big album, like Nevermind, right? Is that the first big one?
That's the first big one,
like,
yeah.
That's the first one, Teen Spirit and stuff on there, right?
Yeah,
There's a story told by Kurt Cobain because he fucking hated that album initially. And he wanted to call it Sheep.
Success, right?
Yeah, he wanted to call it Sheep because initially, when they wrote that band, they brought in a guy who mixed pop music to mix all their songs and edit them like pop songs. Like I said, like Kurt Cobain wanted to call it Sheep. But then he came around to the idea of like, well, more people listen to our music means that more people listen to our message.
And I guess like it's pretty apt calling it Nevermind instead of like, fuck it, who gives a shit?
And it's like, what's the cover? There. The cover is a baby swimming after a fucking dollar bill. It's not subtle.
No, it's a man-child looking for money. We've talked about in the past that that guy will never stop flip-flopping between being mad or happy.
Which we talk about in a second, but someone mentioned earlier in chat of the messaging of punk and these kind of artists and musicians is not subtle. I don't think it's that subtle that the literal cover of Nevermind is a baby within seconds of being born swimming after a dollar bill.
Yeah, like that's the point is like the immediate thought of living in America is to chase the money from second one, yeah. And you were alluding to what, Lucas? Because that baby grew up to be quite famous, or they want to be, right? They want to be famous because they keep getting like every 5 years or so they'll just do the rounds of like, baby from the Nevermind album is mad at Nirvana, or is suing Nirvana, or is happy with being the baby from Nirvana.
Yeah, so the baby on like the Nirvana cover, which I'm only going to refer to as the baby on the Nirvana cover, because the guy he grew up to be has not done anything of note besides just continually bitch and moan in the news about wanting more money, because they say being that baby has ruined their life. And they actually say I think one of their arguments is, I want more money from the band because being known as the Nirvana baby has ruined my life because everyone's seen my baby penis.
Even though the only time anyone would ever know that you're the baby from the Nirvana cover is if you told people, because people are looking at that baby and go, hey, you're that baby as a 21-year-old person or whatever.
Yeah. And you know that guy with the way that he talks in his interviews and stuff. I'll try and track one down. It's like his quotes just read like a guy spends every waking day annoyed that he's not made more money off this thing. And he's the kind of guy who every time he's in a bar or in a location with people he's not met before, someone will mention music and his friends go, for fuck's sake, he's going to talk about being the Nevermind baby again, right?
I was going to say, is that the moment they get a chance, they tell every single person they ever meet that they're the baby on that cover.
The thing is, if I was that baby, I'd talk about it all the time, but I wouldn't
then also pursue legal action against the band and want more money from it, right? It's like you've got one or two ways to go about this. You can't have both worlds. Like you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't have your cake and eat it, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
But yeah, just goddamn. Just such a stupid story. And Carl, the one thing I'll mention, if you are looking up something, is I don't know about you.
Okay.
But I have. Every now and then, when I'm thinking about new tattoos to get, I have thought it would be really fucking funny to get a butterfly tramp stamp.
It would be, right?
It would and wouldn't be, because I would hope that anyone that sees that tattoo would have a sense of humor enough to know I did it as a joke.
Yes.
But, I'm so tempted. And I don't want to do it. I don't. But a little bit of me does. I think it'd be a really funny bit. So,
it would be
ironic.
No one's gonna
butterfly tramp stamp.
And no one's going to see, and anyone who's going to see it is either going to see it for 5 seconds or is looking at you naked, at which point I'd hope you're looking at my dick rather than you're looking at the tramp stamp. Speaking of which, so I now have, like, this is of 2022, so this is the last time this dipshit tried to, like, sue the band. So Spencer Eldon has rescinded his lawsuit. Also, no, he refiled his lawsuit after it was dismissed by a judge.
Of course he refiled it.
So initially, he tried filing saying it caused me emotional distress. I want more money. And again, no one's going to know it's you.
Yep. Unless you
tell them. Then he tried saying that the photo constitutes child pornography that was taken of him without his consent.
Technically, that's true. But it was of their parents' consent, which is what matters when you're a fucking baby that can't speak. Also,
it's a baby. And, like, there is nothing sexual about that image. And if you think there is, that speaks more to your mindset than it does the person who took the photograph.
But consent of a naked baby is still very important.
Yeah, but basically he's trying to, like, he's throwing shit at a wall to see what sticks. It's like
a baby can't give consent, but the guardians of that baby can and clearly did. Have a go with your parents, not the fucking band.
Yeah, and he says that it's caused him permanent emotional distress, and he's suffered. The will continue to suffer lifelong damages, including extreme emotional distress and interference with the normal development and educational process or progress. And it's like, no, you're not, because no one knows it's you.
Again, the only people
you were a
know
fucking baby.
Are the ones that
you don't have knowledge of this.
Yeah. The only people who know are the ones that you've already told.
And here's the thing as well, like, this is why you know he's full of shit, because so in their motion to dismiss, the defendants said Eldon's arguments lacked merit, and I quote, Eldon's claim that the photograph on the Nevermind album cover is child pornography is on its face not serious, noting that anyone who owned a copy of the record would be, on Eldon's theory, guilty of felony possession of child pornography. Okay, which is like, so you're going to arrest 30 million people?
Yeah, apparently for a felony crime? Own child pornography. Apparently, yeah, cool. Good to know.
They also, as well, and this is the thing where you know he's full of shit, they also added that until very recently, Eldon had seemingly enjoyed the notoriety of being, quote-unquote, the Nirvana baby. He has reenacted the photograph in exchange for money many, many times. He has had the album's title tattooed across his chest. He has appeared on talk shows wearing a self-parodying, nude-coloured onesie. He has autographed copies of the album for sale on eBay and has used the connection to try and pick up women.
Yeah, I'm sure that all of this must have been very, very distressing.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like, you know, this dude has just been like, it's the only thing. Like, and I can imagine that. Honestly, it would be kind of. I bet it is a really weird thing sitting there at like 30 fucking years old and knowing that the single most important thing you'll ever do, you did as a baby with your dick out.
Yeah, but it's clearly coasted off a lot of opportunities just from like one photo shoot, and I would give full credit to the guy if he was doing all the shit without then turning around and saying, I want to sue the band.
Yeah, like, it'd be kind of sad if he was still like coasting off the notoriety into his 30s, but it's like, okay, fine.
You might as well make the money off it,
yeah.
Right?
It's the only thing that you're ever going to be known for, and if you're happy doing that, that's fine. But the fact that he's clearly not making enough money, and is like, you know what, I'm going to sue the band.
I'm like literally making money off this connection, and presumably either trying to or successfully getting laid off that too. And then I'm going to turn around, and instead of being grateful for that, I'm going to just be a shithouse and sue the band anyway. Or the members individually or whatever. Yeah.
No, it's you can tell it's the exact kind of person. He had one interesting thing happen to him in his life. He's been coasting off it for 30 years.
Mm-hmm. It's like being a one-hit wonder, but your one hit isn't even like a hit. It's just being photographed one time.
That's the thing, yeah. It's like the notoriety is something you had absolutely no control over, and you're proud of that. So you do get those people, right? If I think it's like we're on the internet right now, I'll tell this story because it's probably one of like the more fascinating interactions I've had in my career as a content creator. Where a couple of years ago now, I got a very, very specifically worded angry-ish message from somebody who's like, "Hey, I left a comment on one of your videos a year or so ago. I was wondering where it went." I'm like, "What? I don't know what you're talking about." And they sent me a screenshot of the comment they'd left on a video that had like a couple hundred likes, and they sent me a screenshot of the video like from that morning of like filtered by top of the
whatever.
Yeah. Like, do you know where this comment went? And here's the thing about the internet and YouTube. Sometimes Google just swallows comments.
Or they've been active in comment sections on other videos that you produced, and like you've maybe just hidden that user from the channel for making a shithouse comment on another video, right?
Or they've been auto-moderated, or
Something like that.
YouTube has received reports from other users about their comment, or just the algorithm swallowed the comment.
There's many reasons why that comment could disappear.
There's also many reasons why I wouldn't give a shit. So I don't care from my end, because why would I give a shit? But over the course of I want to say a couple hours, when I was trying to figure out what this, I said to the guy I can't really do anything to get this back. Do you care that much? And they were like, well, no, I don't care that much, but I did periodically going back to see how many likes that comment had got, and I can't do that anymore. Is there a way to get it back? And when I told them no, they got really upset and started attacking me, and then they were in my mentions on Twitter, screaming don't listen to this guy, he's a piece of shit. He's been lying to me. He's telling me he's censoring me. He's not thinking. And then, I was a bit drunk. I went, mate, if you want me to get the comment back, I'd stop talking like that. He immediately changed his tune. Can you get it back? Can you get it back? I love screenshotting. I love reading through all the responses to it. And it's this is a fascinating glimpse into the mindset of someone who's seemingly never accomplished anything.
So if you'd like Karl to make you delusional over time, comment below and let us know what your favorite industry plant story is.
No, it was fascinating to experience obviously. Of clearly, because the way he was talking, he was genuinely upset.
Yeah, clearly.
And he talks about how when he was up, sometimes, which his code for every other day, he would go back and look at that video to see if the likes had gone up.
And that's why...
And you must have seen it, on videos. You'll see, a comment, and then it'll an edit. Wow, this many hundreds of likes.
Yeah,
it is a thing people give a shit about.
It is something that people care about, and that's why I tried to do my best to, kind of respond to comments on either end of the extreme. It's if there's something to respond to, right?
Yeah.
If it's just, I like this video, it's I have not got anything to respond to, but, I look after moderating comments. We just divvy up responsibilities as a duo. But I'll go through the comments, and generally, you'll see me respond to certain ones, and sometimes it'll be positive comments, and I'm like, hey, thanks for the feedback or whatever, blah blah blah, try and make a conversation out of it. And other times, if people being overly negative, I'll comment on theirs and be like, hey, sorry for whatever you're upset about, but let's try and be a bit more level-headed about this kind of vibes, and just try and keep things a bit calmer and not get into an angry, shouty comment section. And generally speaking, just because people get a response that they're not expecting, all of a sudden the tune will change and be like, oh, I'm really sorry, I didn't actually mean the entire essay that I put in my comment. I was just a bit angry at the time, and I love you guys and blah blah blah.
They didn't expect that you'd see it, even though they left it in a public place. It's obviously it's among a lot of other public messages, but yeah, if we happen to be on the back end of a channel at the time the comments left, it's right there. YouTube has a constant feed of all the comments that's left. Right there when you log in to upload a video or check analytics.
Yeah,
I just found that interesting. A fascinating glimpse into the mindset of someone who seemingly that a big chunk of their personality was based on the fact they'd made a comment on a YouTube video they didn't make a year ago. So I said they talked about they would go back and look at it, and they liked watching the number go up, and they were upset that they couldn't anymore, and they wanted it back.
I think it's really fascinating from what I've seen of how much people can immediately flip the switch from negative to positive.
Oh yeah,
you just leave a comment that is non-aggressive, right? Because if you feed into it, obviously they're going to double down. But the moment you just
I've experienced that a lot as well.
Yeah.
I'm a wiser, calmer, and less drunk man now.
But generally, if you're neutral to positive, trying to just be reasonable, people all of a sudden just like do a 180 and be most of the time completely reasonable, at least from what I've experienced in like, social media and comment sections. We may have done a good job curating the people that we have in our community to an extent as well. So there's a bit of both there. Like, you go to Twitter and it's just a cesspool nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So there is certainly like that element of trying to be nicer people and invite nice people into our community that also helps in that regard. So thank you all for being there.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It's interesting, right? Of the level of notoriety people will attach elements of their personality to.
Mm-hmm.
And to an extent, I feel bad for that like Nirvana guy, because the most important thing you'll probably ever do, you did when you were a baby, and that probably would weigh on your mind a little bit when you're in a bar, being like a drunken mess, and like, really, dude, you still.
One of two ways to go about it. Of like,
it's a fun story you tell.
I can enjoy this and coast off it for a long time, or I can, take the negative side of things and just like get a complex about it. Of like, as you say, the most important thing I've ever done is when I was a baby that didn't even give consent.
What I think about is when you meet guys that you knew in high school and they're still talking about stuff they did in high school, but not in like a reminiscing of like, oh, remember that funny like story, of when they're still seemingly genuinely proud, which it should be of your high school achievements. There's a specific way I want to word this, but they talk about it as if like that was like the best it was, like, and the further you get removed from like the time period, the time of story, like the more like side eye you give of. Yeah, but like we always mention the Shaun of the Dead thing, right? Where Sean's talking Peter Serafinowicz of, we were at some good times, right? We remember staying up, drinking apple schnapps, playing Tekken 2, and Peter Serafinowicz like, yeah, that was 10 years ago.
When's he gonna move out?
And it's just so blunt, right? Of like, for Sean, like, that's a treasured memory, and for Peter Serafinowicz, like, yeah, it was fun. We were at university. It was 10 years ago. I've got a job.
Yeah. What the fuck are you doing at 4 a.m? Leave me alone. And like, obviously, there is the other side to that character where it's like, yeah, that's a realistic viewpoint, but also I completely side with like the Sean character of wanting to be like, hey, I work a shitty job. I don't live a especially great life. I just want to enjoy myself and like not be, trapped down by this shit. But I can totally see both sides of it. But yeah, that moment where it's just that, yeah, that was 10 years ago, Sean.
It was a really interesting, not fan theory, because obviously the stories are completely different, but the idea that the World's End and Hot Fuzz are like different paths through life. For like the Shaun, because obviously like Edgar Wright made like Shaun the Dead when everyone there was in their early 30s, late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And you have like Angel, who commits himself completely to work, and that's bad. Also, like all three moves like different paths. And like Sean, like he's really lackadaisical through life, and it ends with him kind of just like
coasts. Yeah,
he meanders through life. Like Angel from Hot Fuzz, he's completely focused on work and doesn't have a social life. And at the end, he learns to like be more balanced. And then Gary King in World's End is completely focused on the past and just getting blitzed out of his mind every weekend. And the end of his story, he's just finding the middle path.
Yeah.
And like each like one of his movies is basically about like what kind of man do you want to be, and it's like you can't fully focus on one thing. Just fully focusing on that one thing is just going to result in you being unhappy.
Even to like a lesser extent, right? Spaced kind of follows a similar path.
Yeah.
Where just it I can't remember the guy's name.
Okay, I just call him like Simon Pegg when I rewatch
Simon
it.
Pegg's character in Spaced again is like kind of getting fired from
Sean,
a job,
right?
and he's wanting to become an artist, and he's kind of just sitting there getting high and playing video games and going out a lot of the time, and then he kind of finds a nice balance where he meets like kind of gets with Sophie, and then essentially with his like roommate and stuff, and just kind of finds a bit more of a balance in his life where he gets a good job as like an artist and stuff.
Yeah, that's like one of the more interesting readings of like Edgar Wright's work, like the Cornetto trilogy. He's like it's basically him talking to his past self of like, don't be a workaholic, but also don't spend all your time getting pissed with your friends. But at the same time, you can go out and get drunk with your friends, but also don't focus, like, don't ignore your job. Also, don't ignore your girlfriend, don't be complacent in your love life. But at the same time, get a good love life with someone who's like interests align with your own way. You can't just sit and have a cup of tea, but
Yeah.
you also want to go spend time with your friends, but don't spend all your time with your friends.
That thing is like whenever you hear people talk about Edgar Wright as a creator, they're very involved in the process and just very meticulous in the process, and it's just like one of those things where just they're on top of everything, but it never sounds like they're being in a complete kind of mental case about it, right? That they never seem to just be in, fingers in every pot or whatever. They're just kind of like, let's make good vibes, let's let the creative people do what they do, but also let's all be committed to the job. And
Yeah.
one of the good examples is Scott Pilgrim versus the World, right? Where they all came back for the animated version of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. The entire cast came back because they all talk about how great the experience was on set with that film, and how they all still have like a group chat that is still like constantly getting new updates, what, a dozen years later or whatever.
It must be really great though, like when they're asking him, like, "Oh yeah, what's up? I've just seen Chris doing another fucking Avengers movie," and Michael Cera's like, "I'm just in a weirdo indie project."
But Michael Cera wants to be in the weird.
He
indie
wants to be,
projects,
right?
Is Michael Cera every now and then just turns up at random clubs unannounced, playing bass in a band? Like, he wants to be the weird indie kid now.
Just like Keanu Reeves, right? Like Keanu Reeves, like where I wrote a script about it recently, actually, about The Matrix, where he turned up to a set of The Matrix with a broken neck.
Right.
And he had a broken, like, vertebrae or something like that. And in the script, I was like, well, it turns out he injured himself on the set of a crappy movie called, like, I forget, it's some crap movie that he was on before that. So you might think he was injured doing that. But no, he was actually injured playing a pickup hockey game.
Right.
Like he's been playing in for like 20 years, when he was just in LA and missed being in Canada, saw some dudes playing hockey and went, "Can I play hockey with you guys?" And then continued to play hockey with them even after he became a star.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And he just like got his neck broken in a pickup hockey game on the streets because he's Keanu Reeves. He just loves Canada that much.
Really great things about a lot of the people that do like superhero movies and stuff, right? I think of somebody that did a lot of franchise movies in Robin Patterson. Of like, they are Batman, but at the same time, nearly every movie that they've done between the Twilight Saga and the Batman has been weird indie projects that they don't need to give a shit about. Same with the people from Harry Potter, including obviously Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson was in.
He was in one movie for a bit, but Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, especially, and Emma Watson as well. But I don't think there's any real movie that the two guys have been in that's been a mainstream movie at all.
There was Woman in Black. Woman in Black was like a really good horror movie that he was in.
It's not particularly mainstream though.
I remember it being quite popular because it was like one of those like, this is the scariest movie of the year, you need to go watch, and it just so happened to star Daniel Radcliffe.
Right, okay. Like the only exposure I've got to Woman in Black is as a stage play, which was really cool stage play.
Not Equus, where Daniel Radcliffe got his wand out. That was like one of the things he did to establish himself as like a proper actor. As he went and did a stage performance where he got his knob out next to an horse.
I remember there was one as well where he was like one of the guys from Rockstar Games about making of GTA or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Elijah Wood does that because Elijah Wood's got fucking Hobbit money.
Oh yeah, Elijah Wood as well would just like
he don't get fuck
money, yeah.
Like, so he just like does indie games. Like he did like a full voiceover for a point and click adventure game because he just really likes point and click adventure games. And we talk about how like
helped make some video game experience or something, like a VR.
I think so, yeah. Like, he
well,
invested in like a company, yeah, because he just likes video games and weird projects. But either way, speaking of weird projects, I guess we can move on to your wiki entry, Lucas. After a break.
After we take a quick break.
We're gonna make Bleepo. Just get Bleepo right there.
I'm gonna definitely play all of our ads for sponsors that we definitely have. Hey,
It's almost a
if
sponsor. You
anyone
gotta
wants to
like,
sponsor us, here's the bit.
especially if you want to sponsor something stupid.
We'll put you right here.
Yeah, just saying, I want to sponsor my
If
Bleepo.
Bleepo wants to sponsor us,
And you want to slip us $5 whole? Let's talk.
maybe more. Don't undersell the Carl. Let's go to the rake. We are back.
Excellent. So, Lucas, I imagine there's something you'd like to promote for next week, right?
There is indeed, yes.
The Love of Your Life arrives next week, right?
I hope
your new
so.
obsession.
My new obsession for sure, which is going to be the Nintendo Switch 2. And I am going to be celebrating by both putting stuff for once in my life on my own personal YouTube channel, and then also be streaming over the weekend of the launch. So my plan currently is that I've got a couple of games on the docket that I'm going to say, hey, this performed awfully on Nintendo Switch 1. Before I stream, I'm going to record a bit of gameplay and capture that at like 1080p, 60 frames per second. It won't be 4K because Nintendo Switch 1 games don't play at 4K. We'll just see if like the performance, like the loading times, the frame rate got better on those. Like, for example,
that discount Digital Foundry tech.
The discount Digital Foundry tech, of course. Like, I know that I'm like A, earlier than a lot of Americans are gonna get it, and B, I'm gonna focus on games that aren't gonna be like the first up on other people's lists. So, two that I know that like I've chatted to a few people who want to see like how they perform on games that I didn't buy because of the technical performance, are like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Those two games I never played because just they did not run well on Switch. So there's two games I know for sure. I'm going to just like quickly before I start streaming on Thursday on launch day, I'm going to get YouTube videos out of like, I don't know, 20 minutes of gameplay or whatever, just see how it fares and stuff. And then, yeah, I'm going to be then of an evening on the Thursday on launch day doing some Mario Kart World streaming. And then over the weekend, we're just going to do kind of variety stuff of some Mario Kart World again. Playing like the GameCube emulated classic games, which is like Wind Waker, F-Zero GX, and Soul Calibur 2. Be trying out like the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild updates. And then I'm also just going to probably just be like, maybe I'll just do it as like a sub thing of like, give us a few subs and I'll check out a game that you want me to check out. Because I've got most Nintendo first party games.
Yeah, so it's just going to be like, a celebration of all things Switch 2, and that'll be next week, and we'll no doubt promote it a little more next week, because I imagine we can mention it in like the videos we upload around next week sometime. And I guess the thing I'm going to promote is I'm going to ask for some advice. So myself and Lucas are planning on creating some compilations, because we realised we celebrated our 100th episode of the podcast recently. Like, hey,
one sec. I just want to say,
yes,
I normally stream like a couple of hours during that like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Switch 2 is just out, so in like a week and a bit. I do plan on just being like mostly live
all
during
day,
like all of the day UK time. So like I'll have 3 solid days of just like pretty much just streaming, probably even taking like food breaks and stuff on stream to do some Q&A and stuff. So I'll pretty much have like 3 solid days where I'm just like, book it, let's be live, play Switch 2, catch up, play a bunch of games, chill out, but compilations, yes.
Yes, I'll try and tune in for that as well, but I'm at a stag do on the Saturday, so I might tune in after I've been to the stag do and be like, hey, Lucas, guess how drunk I am?
Excellent.
But either way, yeah, so we're planning on making some compilations for the channel, but we did want some advice and some feedback from our audience, because we've now created enough content where I feel like we have a pretty eclectic selection of content myself and you have produced and topics that we've covered. So if anyone out there has any suggestions for topics for compilations they'd like to see, because obviously not the generic ones like do a compilation of our anime moments or you talked about TV shows. If you have any more like specific examples, because the more specific a compilation is, the more likely it is to get clicks. I think to like the Kitchen Nightmares playlist, right, where just they got fucking weird, where one of their compilations or the thumbnails is just Gordon can't have the nachos because he is the nachos, and he's just photoshopped into a plate of nachos.
Yeah, like it's gonna be easy for Carl and I to be like, hey, should we make a compilation of like Marvel character videos that we've done? That's gonna be simple, but if you can think of other ones that are like a little bit more niche that we've got a few videos on, we can just like whack together, put as a compilation and stuff for you to enjoy. Yeah.
Or just like a specific thing or element of our videos that you enjoy that we maybe perhaps haven't considered.
Yeah, true.
Like,
yeah.
Or maybe like you view a topic from a different way. It's like a superhero topic can be viewed multiple ways. It can be a superhero topic, or it can be about the actor. It can be about the films.
Yeah, it could be like a multitude of different things that we didn't consider, but we're trying to just do our best now. As Carl said, like we wanted and known that compilation content does well. Of like, I literally am a person who falls asleep most nights to the YouTube compilations of like 4 hours of something to fall asleep to. Like,
yeah,
I know I watched that shit. So like,
I did.
Yeah, we have.
I trialed it on FactFiend because like FactFiend's kind of we just like put experimental stuff off if we want to try. Where the 4 hours of FactFiend content to chill and touch your touch too. Which I'm so happy that I got that through like the YouTube censors because that made me giggle so much when I uploaded it. And when I told you, you were just giggling as well. I'm like, you know what? If only me and Lucas laugh at this, it's worth it.
It's like us two and a friend were just playing some Helldivers at the time, right? And you're just like, oh hey, I'm gonna name this compilation like things to touch your touch to, and we just burst out laughing. It's like, you know what? That's not exactly in like the YouTube vernacular, and if Cole can get away with it, excellent.
Also, yeah, if it makes people laugh, I'm all down for it. 'Cause the idea of the content is to people to enjoy it, and if someone gets a giggle out of that thumbnail, I've done my job, right?
Yeah, because that's the thing is, I'm not necessarily sure with all the clips we put into our weekend videos that necessarily good content to fall asleep to sometimes. So we may have to think of more like off the wall ways to sell it to YouTube, so to speak.
Well, background noise is still a thing people enjoy, and something that probably couldn't be background noise is the topic of your Wiki. Yes,
I laugh. I can't remember what the fucking Monty Python quote is, but just like the I spit in your face or whatever, because this might be the epitome to myself. Very subjective right now. We are talking
music is, yes,
purely, opinions. This today was background noise for me. Background noise is maybe the most amazing way to sum up what I listened to today, personally for myself.
Okay, and what are we talking about?
So we are talking about Sleep Token, and what I refer to when I am talking about Sleep Token is their newest album. And I'm very, very aware Sleep Token are very popular, and I'm not here to disparage their music or their talent.
Their artistry. Their skill.
But like, I'm a musician in the sense that like, I spent many years studying like keyboard / piano as a kid. Then I'm also like a beginner drummer in my adult life that's like gone on and off lessons and jams and stuff. But like today, I listened to Even Arcadia, which is Sleep Token's newest album, and as much as I can appreciate, they are way better musicians than I ever hoped to be. To me, I can perfectly describe it as like it was just some background noise that I never feel the need to return to. Which, considering I want to talk about them because they just got #1 in both America and the UK with an album which is very rare.
Yes. Like, there's not many artists who manage to do that, especially British artists.
Especially British artists. It's very hard for British artists to even get heard in America. Like, one of the most like common examples right now because of the movie is Robbie Williams, right?
Yeah, Americans don't know who he is.
Now they do because of the movie where he's a chimp man. But before the Better Man, I think it was, movie, like most Americans have no fucking clue who Robbie Williams were.
Well, that's like with like
yeah.
It's like the Spice Girls, right? Americans don't know who the Spice Girls are. And it's like they were a fucking phenomenon in the 90s over here.
There was a meme going around of like who's bigger, Sugar Babes or Spice Girls a while ago. It's like uncategorically the Spice Girls.
Yeah, like Beyonce is probably bigger than any of them now is.
But... Oh yeah, way bigger. But
the Sugar Babes wasn't Beyonce. The Sugar Babes was the Sugar Babes.
The Sugar Babes were Sugar Babes, and Spice Girls were like apparently minus America a fucking worldwide phenomenon that sold, I think, like 4 times the amount of music that Sugar Babes did. It was not a competition, but Americans were talking about it as if like, who the fuck are the Spice Girls? And luckily for Sleep Token, that seemingly has not been the case. They seemingly have like managed to break through that barrier and are now, as I say, number 1 this month in both like America and UK, which is huge. It is.
It's a very good achievement, and I'll say, like Lucas, I can tell that you're really, really trying to dance around the facts. You say like you don't like them as a band. I agree. Like I listen to their stuff. It's not my cup of tea. I can appreciate, as you said, the artistry. It's not for me.
I am very scared of the Sleep Token audience because they are passionate, and I appreciate that. It's not for me, and I was honestly very impressed by how like experimental and different the music was in the album, even in Arcadia. But it's not for me, and that's not a problem. I want to really nail it down before people are like, how dare you call them shit? It's like, I'm not calling them bad.
Yes,
they're just not for me. I never listened to one of those songs on that album today and felt the need to go back to that song.
And that's the thing, yes. Music is subjective, art is subjective, media is subjective.
Yeah.
But you did mention like you wanted to talk about them just because it's an interesting achievement.
And like it is a very passionate fan base, which is why I'm just
that's the thing, I don't know anything about the fan base. My interaction with the band is a friend of mine came over to me, I was like, you need to listen to this band. And played them like, okay, it sounds pretty good. He's like, what do you mean pretty good? This is incredible.
That's the exact thing that I'm scared of.
I'm like, yeah, but it's not music that I like, so my desire to listen to the different elements is kind of lessened. It's not the kind of music that I'd listen to, so...
And
okay.
One thing I will say is like, it is very cool listening to an album and not knowing what genre to put it in.
That does sound interesting, yeah. And that's like that's the thing I can appreciate. It's like, but you're not hearing all the different genres they're going through. It's like, but when I listen to a specific genre, I want to hear that genre of music. Like when I listen to like, like today I was listening to some old Dio. When I was in the gym, I was like, so I just want to listen to some like classic hard rock. Some fucking Dio, let's go. And that's what I want to listen to. And if it suddenly went into like an opera ballad, or like dubstep or something, I'd be annoyed because that's not what I wanted to listen to. But that's just my particular lizard brain approach of I clicked on this album because I want to listen to this kind of music.
Because like I listened to a few singles of Sleep Token of just like, went on YouTube Music of like what is the most popular top tracks because I've heard they're good. And I was like, oh, this isn't the metal band I was sold on. They're not metal, so to speak. They're like quite heavy and quite experimental.
Well, the thing as well is I have like immediately I was put off the band because my only other interaction with them, so I don't listen to pop music, I don't listen to the radio. Just Spotify's got my back on that one. Where
it's very weird, again, hearing them described as pop music because this is not. It's not pop music, but it is popular music. Yeah.
And a friend of mine from America is like, have you heard the band Sleep Token? I've heard the name. I went, oh, they really made me think of you. And that immediately because I hate when people do that. Right, like, oh, you'll love this band. And then watch as you listen to them. It's like, but now I feel obligated to like them, which makes me not want to.
And the thing that, like, people will see and obviously know behind the scenes I'm clearly talking about a lot right now, but I'm doing my best to not put Karl off. Player Obscure 33. Expedition 33.
No,
But
the
I
thing is,
keep
I trust your
mentioning it
opinions.
to
It's fine.
you, but not in a way of like, mate, you'll love this. This is the best thing ever. I'm just like, oh no, I'm really enjoying it. Because I know that like I'm the same of like when someone's like, this is the game made for you, you'll love this, like go play this. That it's a bit off-putting for yourself or myself.
It's because I don't like. I want to approach something from either an objective standpoint of that I'm trying to keep my opinions as like neutral as possible, or it's something that I know that I like because obviously I know myself. There's my own weird like foible in that regard, and I know it's like a bad way to approach media because it stops me from experiencing things that I enjoy. But when you're online,
I'm
and like
sitting
every
there,
fucking day,
and I'm trying to communicate of like, I'm not telling you that you will love this game. I'm telling you I love this game.
Yeah.
And that's the way I'm approaching it right now. Of like, I'm just gushing about this game, and I'm trying to be like, Karl, I'm not telling you need to play it. I'm telling you I really like it.
Well, the thing is, I'm interested in because like I know nothing about the fan base. So is the fan base like someone in chat alludes to the fact that there are a lot? It's a very diplomatic way of putting it.
I've never seen anything toxic about the fan base. I've only ever seen that the fan base really fucking love the band.
And that's it. I'd be interested to hear about that because obviously we all know the horror stories about like the Swifties with Taylor Swift like sending death threats to reviewers who like this album's like it's okay.
It's okay.
It's
right.
It's a 7 out of 10. Swifties sent death threats to their house. Or I think to fans who get really specifically uptight and pissy about the pronunciation of Rammstein. Right. If you pronounce that wrong, they get really annoyed about
trying
it.
To say the right way, right?
Yes, because I called them Rammstein once. It's not Rammstein, it's Rammstein. I went, okay, you pronounce it with a German accent, but you're saying the same word. No, it's very different.
Mm-hmm.
Or that time I was in a pub and some guy had an Alexis on Fire tattoo. And, oh, Alex is on fire. That's the joke. He said, no, it's Alexis on Fire. And if a real fan who wasn't as nice as me heard you call them that, they'd give you shit for it. It's like, well, you're giving me shit right now, mate.
You're giving me shit, though, aren't you? Like, by roundabout ways.
At what extent is it?
I don't know, because I've never really interacted with this fan base.
Well, that's what I'm asking the audience, if anyone's there. Like,
yeah, I'd love to know from chat, like, either in comments below or live chat. Like, all I know is that the Sleep Token fan base is A, apparently very queer, which is cool as fuck.
Good
and
for
B,
them.
very passionate, which again is cool as fuck.
Our audience is very queer, so good for us. Apparently, aren't I am Sleep Token, you said? Because I knew that they were an anonymous band, and that's why I said, oh, they're that band where no one knows who they are, right? And you went, no, we know who they are, and it's you, right?
Wait, what?
You said like the band is me because you sent that picture of like here's the guy who's the singer and he looks like me.
Oh, like you? Yes. I thought you meant like me then for a second. I was like, okay, right, hang on.
This was you talking to me earlier in the day.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you got me a little bit confused.
It was my understanding the band was completely anonymous by choice.
The band is anonymous.
Or pseudonymous.
I go to like I Google the words like Sleep Token Vessel, who is the like.
I'm sorry. When I found out that's what they call themselves, I did do the because you can't call yourself that.
No. The whole thing about the band, which I've learned, which I really appreciate, is that a lot of this is like tongue-in-cheek shit.
Okay, so because if you call yourself Vessel and you present yourself seriously, it's like that is really pretentious.
Because they're British, they are like an English rock band formed in London in 2016, according to the Wikipedia. It seemed as though they are super self-aware. They do this all tongue-in-cheek with like the masks and the costumes, and like they call their albums like offerings. They call their gigs rituals.
Okay, because that's the thing. Like
it's all very like tongue-in-cheek, self-aware shit. Of like they call the main member Vessel, and then everyone else is 2, 3, and 4. And like
I was getting like big like 30 Seconds to Mars vibes, where Jared Leto calls the fans the echelon.
Yeah,
and like dresses like fucking Jesus.
I think they're taking the piss out of all that stuff.
Let's say as an outside observer, when I just hear as a guy calls himself Vessel,
you assume the worst, but then you learn that like No, it's some guy that's been in like British music for a little while, around our age, who's kind of just taking the piss a little bit from
Reminds me a
from
little
what
bit
it
of
seems.
Banksy. Like, do you like protests like stuff like Banksy of like very self-aware of
Hmm.
like his image and has like played with that a lot, like the iconic thing he did where it's like, oh, I'm going to sell off a Banksy painting, and he engineered the frame to shred it the moment it's sold,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Stuff like that.
It very much comes across as that, which is like why I wanted to talk about them, why I'm fascinated about them, because it's not a bunch of assholes that are taking themselves too seriously. It's like, hey, we're some like talented musicians that maybe didn't get our break, and maybe we can like just go full metal with this and lean into the weird shit. And that's what
Almost
Sleep
like,
Token come across
so
as.
it's closer to something like Gwar or Steel Panther then, where it's
I
they're
have no idea about
aware.
either of those bands, so I don't
Steel
know.
Steel Panther are like a hair metal band, and they pretend to be a hair metal band, and they dress in like the full fucking outfits with the giant hair, and they sing songs about like just having sex with girls and drinking pints, or someone like what's it now, Ailstorm, right, where they dress like fucking pirates.
Yeah, or even it's the one that they did like the fake documentary on.
Oh, Spinal Tap.
Yeah, I think it's like maybe not as exaggerated, but maybe is that vibes of they're very aware of what they're doing and
The
that
trappings of like that kind of musicianship.
yeah, of like obviously I don't want to like get too deep into the weeds of everything, but like obviously there's bands like Slipknot who again I think are kind of self-aware. At least maybe nowadays.
I
Don't
think
know how
Slipknot, yeah, they
self-serious they
were.
were back in the day. But like
When you
you
listen,
see like interviews with Corey Taylor now, and he doesn't give a shit, right?
well, he's rich, he's made his money, right?
And like, but he's so fun about it all,
Of
right?
course, and they ask him like, "Oh, you're on costume dressed like a serial killer," and he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
we play good music, right?"
and that's the thing is like, I do find it fascinating because I mentioned Slipknot and Corey Taylor because I want to just put up the picture there. Bear in mind, that's not a picture. Everyone watching the podcast,
Oh, so okay,
can't
so
see
this
it.
is like, so who
I've
is
just
this
put up the
dude then?
picture of the younger, long-haired. I
So you
believe it's
told
like
this is
Leo
the singer.
Faulkner.
This is Vessel.
So Leo Faulkner is reportedly Vessel, even
Okay, so
according
I've
to like SleepToken.com, which is run by fans of the band.
we've established that the fans are obsessive, so presumably they're going to obsessively track this band. But yeah, Lucas said, "This is just you," and like, Lucas, you don't know how right you are because there's just me in like here's me in college. So am I Sleep Token?
Is Karl Sleep Token? Is Karl Vessel?
Am I the am I? Oh my god, am I the vessel through which she's communicating?
Oh god.
So meta. Because the thing is, that's just how every dude in like 2010 looked who was around my age and my height.
Yeah. That's the thing is like I am fully invested. You know, I'm fully invested in a band that is from Sheffield.
They're from Sheffield.
No, not that band. But I'm fully invested in a band from Sheffield. There's way more actually deeply into their bullshit, which is Bring Me the Horizon.
Bring Me the Horizon. So Bring Me the Horizon I had a weird relationship with because I didn't like early Bring Me the Horizon stuff. When I moved to Sheffield, because when I arrived at university in like 2010, they were just starting to take off. They were just getting big.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of like my friends were musicians, continue to be musicians to this day. And they talked about this new up and coming band called Bring Me. And that's when they did like really, really heavy stuff.
Shit, sure.
And they went,
yeah.
It's
fine. We can call it shit. It was shit. Like their first album, also.
Yeah, and they were known for being a bit some wrong ones, right? Because the thing about it is Ollie Sykes, right, would like piss on fans on stage. That's what he was known for years.
Jesus.
And then like a couple of years later, they just said, "Okay, we came back," and then just wrote. Was it? What's the name of the song that made it into the charts? It's like Kings or Rain or something, right?
Ooh, I wonder which one first charted.
Well, they had like just an album where it charted, and a bunch of their fans were like, "Oh, you're not playing the heavy stuff anymore." And I think it was Ollie Sykes just went, "We'd rather be the heaviest pop band than the lightest heavy band."
Yeah, yeah.
And just since then have just leaned into the fact they, like, they've had their success, they've got their money, they want to just have fun.
Yeah.
So they've written a bunch of songs inspired by the music they like. Like they wrote a song that's just like inspired by like My Chemical Romance.
They did Lost, yeah.
Yep. Just because they thought it was fun. And they did like collaborations like Baby Metal and stuff because they were having fun. You said you went to one of their shows and they have like a bunch of video game shit on stage and like their stage shows. It's just the stuff the band finds fun.
The opening to their latest gig was a Metal Gear Solid intro.
Yeah. And
like they literally have a song called Shadow Moses.
Yeah, and in Sheffield, where I'm sat right now, like they own, or Ollie Sykes, the lead singer, owns a place called Church, Temple of Fun. And it's just a vegan restaurant / bar with like a bunch of video game consoles in it. And I go there like once a month with my mates and just get pissed. And it's just really good vegan food.
Yeah, I need to go there next time I go to Sheffield, and patrons can help us with that.
You can just occasionally see like every now and again you'll see like Ollie Sykes and his Bentley, I think he owns. He's got like a beat up old Bentley covered in like band stickers and bumper stickers, and you can see it just driving around Sheffield.
Yeah, so there's 2 albums that you might be referring to. There's Sempiternal, which has like Shadow Moses on and stuff, or there's That's the Spirit, which is when they really went like quote unquote mainstream. And that's the one that really like caught my ears, I guess.
Yeah,
and
because
I became
they changed their sound. And yeah, the latest stuff is like just they seem to be having a lot of fun with it.
They're just like having fun, collaborating with a bunch of shit, trying out weird stuff. And I'm having way more fun listening to that stuff than the early like weird, like just really screamy stuff.
Which they clearly tried very hard, and it was, as they say, the style at the time. There's a few bands that I'm like tangentially like related to. I don't know anyone in them, but because I knew people who knew people, and I'd be at house parties and stuff where they'd be like, "Wasn't Bring Me," it was the band called While She Sleeps.
Okay,
I never met anyone from the band, but apparently I was at a bunch of house parties where the band was at the place, and I just didn't know who they were.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Because they were apparently like friends of friends of friends, and like when you went to house parties, and people just turn up.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I always like not regret, but like I'm always a little bit upset that it was like 2013 and 2015 when Bring Me made the albums that I like as I was leaving Sheffield, and I'm like, God fucking damn it. Dear, yeah,
I'll be honest, I prefer them much more than I prefer The Cure. It's The Cure that are from Sheffield as well, right? It's like Jarvis Cocker is from Sheffield.
Okay.
As are Arctic Monkeys, and you're from Liverpool, so you must get the Beatles all the time. In
who
like
are the
Sheffield,
Beatles, Carl? I don't know.
In Sheffield, it's Jarvis Cocker and Arctic Monkeys, and sometimes Def Leppard.
Yeah, like
I don't mind Def Leppard. I think Def Leppard are partly from, like one of the members is from Sheffield because they performed at what is it now? Lead Mill. Like Def Leppard put on a concert at the Lead Mill instead of doing it at the arena.
Yeah, there's so many like bands that I assume like Def Leppard are American, but it turns out like there's way more of a metal scene that comes from Britain than it does America.
I had this argument with my ex who was American because like when we were having the conversation about what music I listened to, I like metal. And I was like, obviously as a proud British man, you got to support metal because we did invent it. And they're like, no, you didn't. Like, yes, we did. It's like, no. Americans invented blues. And I went, yes, and blues went to rock and roll. And then Britain took rock and roll and made it metal. Went, no, it didn't. I went, look it up. And the little someone's like, well, metal, obviously it's nebulous as time, but you start like bands like fucking like Deep Purple and Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
It's like Black Sabbath is fucking British.
Yeah. Like,
I'm pretty sure
like
Deep
Iron
Purple
Maiden,
might be British. I want to double check Deep Purple.
AC/DC, shit like that.
AC/DC is Australian, I think. Oh, Deep Purple are also English.
So AC/DC, I believe, are like half Australian, half British, but they're formed in Scotland.
Yeah, so I have just the thing on like heavy metal here. 3 of the genre's most famous pioneers, the British bands Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and Deep Purple, were founded in 1968, which is believed to be the origins of the genre. It's like, you can't really get more definitive than the first 3 widely recognised metal bands were all British, formed in the same fucking year.
Yeah, it's really fun as well. Like, I won't name drop them because I haven't ever asked their permission, but I work with someone who they have like worked in the music industry for like 50 plus years,
Okay.
and they just casually name drop people every now and then when I'm just having a conversation. Like, bear in mind, I've known them for 10 years, and I still like, they're not bragging about it, but every now and then someone will come up with a conversation. They're like, oh yeah, I worked with Tom Jones like, at one time. Oh yeah, I did like a gig with Echo and the Bunnymen for a few years, and like, okay, cool. And just like, it's fascinating just hearing stories from them, and just like knowing that, like, oh yeah, he's just chilling out now, but like, he's just still experimenting around with music and stuff, and just hearing the people he's worked
Farting
with and
around.
stuff, just like, it's so fucking fun. Just every now and then, just like hearing a new random story about another like random British like rock or metal artist that he's worked with. It's like cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there's a lot more going on like the British music industry, especially metal wise, than like even I realize. Like
Well, I
again,
remember I said like I had that
it literally
argument, and my
created
ex,
the genre, right?
yeah, my ex was absolutely insisting that it was invented in America. It's like, well, wasn't it like Metallica? And it's like, no, Metallica was the 80s. Black Sabbath formed in the 60s. Ozzy Osbourne was
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne's like 80. Keep in mind.
He was eating bats in the 70s, like fucking
Yeah.
hell. Oh dear, but
There was
yeah.
pictures out there because obviously like metal wasn't a thing. Like the earliest Black Sabbath concerts, because it was more like when like psychedelic rock was a thing. They're dressed on like pink and rainbow stuff in a field. And it cuts like 2 years later when they'd helped define what metal was, and they're all just dressed in black in like the blacked out club.
And that's one really cool thing, right? Is that Sleep Token, as mentioned, you know, they're an English rock band and stuff, but they remain anonymous, quote unquote. Like I
Super
literally
anonymous, yeah.
Googled who are the members, and I literally have like an entire sleeptoken.com fan made site of like, is every single member, every single band they've been in, including the backing vocalists.
Nothing's secret online, right? It's like it's a wonder Banksy has managed to stay anonymous for as long as they have, and that's
They
because
haven't. Like, they're not anonymous anymore, but it was confirmed a couple of years ago, but that same person was under suspicion of being Banksy for like 20 years.
yeah.
Like, there was not really that much of a secret if you ever did any research behind it. But yeah, it's
Because like the alter ego is far more compelling, so it's a lot easier to like. I think it's what Daft Punk talked about, where it's like people know what the Daft Punk look like, people know their names, like Guy Hom Emmanuel, I think. So I don't know his fucking name, like Tom Bangalore, because I don't know their names because they're Daft Punk, and they talk about the robots are more compelling.
Yeah.
So even if people see us on walking down the street and they know it's us, they're not going to be excited to meet us because we're not dressed like the robots.
That's kind of the dream, right? Is being famous across the world, but also being able to walk into like a restaurant without being noticed.
VTuber.
Yeah. And one thing that's very funny as well, talking about Sleep Token, is it goes to the history here of like the beginnings. It's like, oh yeah, they released the first single, Thread the Needle, in 2016, which was followed by like another debut EP one, which featured 2 additional songs plus alternative piano arrangements of all tracks. But in February 28th, 2017, they released a cover of Hey Ya by Outkast.
Oddly enough, like,
cool.
Joe, speaking of like Bring Me the Horizon, did you see when they just out of nowhere went Anyway Here's Wonderwall and dropped like the definitive cover of Wonderwall?
No, they didn't. I didn't see that.
And Oasis, the band, like, so Joe and Oasis like reformed and went on tour because they needed more money. And like Oasis themselves, like, why do we bother singing this song? These guys have nailed it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's legit a fantastic cover because they just go, Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
Sorry, Misters Gallagher's. It's almost as if actual musicians like fucking covered your song.
Like, anyone out there, go listen. It's really good.
I fucking hate Oasis. I'm sorry.
It's such a good cover. And they was like, yeah, anyway, here's Wonderwall, why not? And there's so many bands who've done stuff like that, where it's like, was it Foo Fighters? You like Foo Fighters, right? Where
Yeah.
they went, yeah, we're going to do Never Gonna Give You Up, and Rick Astley come out.
Yeah, they
I
did
love
that
when
as
like bands.
a gig during their gigs. One of their recent tours, right? Of just like, we're just gonna have Rick Astley on the sidelines to come in and sing "Never Gonna Give You Up."
And you know what? Immediately, that makes me realize, okay, the band's not taking themselves too seriously, because a serious band wouldn't do a fun cover.
Speaking of fucking fan bases, remember that time where like Dave Grohl took the piss ever so lightly out of Taylor Swift, and people fucking tried to bury him? The Swifties tried to go. So, like, yes, he has an illegitimate child from cheating on his partner. I'm pretty sure that describes every musician ever.
At the very least, the person he cheated on his wife, he wasn't underage, so...
yeah, there's that much at least. Like,
he's not Anthony Kiedis in it up, is he?
No.
Or Jared Leto in it up.
Got a fucking Chili Peppers tattoo, great. But yeah, I still like the music. But, you know, there's plenty of people with Harry Potter tattoos out there who are like, even in worse of a fucking pit to get out of than I am.
It's like you separate art from artist much in the same way you have to separate Anthony Kiedis from a pile of cocaine and an underage girl.
It's true. I literally wrote a song about it as well. Oh, God. But yeah, moving. Yeah, there's like...
moving swiftly on.
There's a time where the Swifties came after Dave Grohl just for being Dave Grohl, because he was like... He said a joke about they were on the same like tour times as Taylor Swift. And he made a joke at least at, like, we play our music live. And
I remember that because people like Swifties were giving him shit for it, like, what's he ever done? He was the drummer in Nirvana.
Yeah, he's not only the drummer in Nirvana, partly the drummer in Queens of the Stone Age. There's them Crooked Vultures, the supergroup that he formed.
It's like, even if them. Dave Grohl had done nothing else and said that, and someone accused, like, I was the drummer in Nirvana.
Yeah, and also has fucking Foo Fighters for the last 25 years. Like,
he could always just fall back on that, and you'd be like, well, yeah, he was the drummer in Nirvana.
Like, you could take Foo Fighters, Queens, them Crooked Vultures, anything else he's done out of it. But yeah, I did, like, Smells Like Teen Spirits. I made that drum beat. Fuck you.
What's Taylor Swift done? And I think even Taylor Swift would have to admit, if they asked her, like, do you think you're more impactful than fucking Nirvana? She'd have to be like, no. Surely she'd have enough self-awareness to be like, I'm not more impactful than fucking Nirvana.
I don't think she admit that.
I bet she would, because she understands the value of good PR.
Does she?
Like, she does, yeah. When she's flying on a private plane, she's also doing something, right? All the time she saves.
What, shutting down a 13-year-old for, like, just publicly stating what was publicly available information?
I never stop finding it funny, thinking about that meme of, like, leaked footage of, like, Taylor Swift going to the start of a plane. Or on a private plane, is a plane inside a plane.
Taylor Swift just getting inside of a plane, inside of a private jet.
It was like the one about, like, Elon Musk in it, of when people started leaking his location, even though it's public information. He started carrying his kid around, and everyone, it was really, when it was pointed out to me, like, have you noticed he carries his kid on his shoulder, which is the one part that a bulletproof vest wouldn't cover?
Yeah, specifically after the billionaire CEO of a healthcare company just got killed, right? Of like, the moment that happened, all of a sudden, Elon Musk really in touch with that one kid he's got.
Yeah, that one kid who's got a really nice thick torso.
Not the babies that he doesn't pay childcare for. Just like one of the ones that's a bit more grown up, got a bit more of like a meat shield vibe about them.
Yeah. I remember that happening. It's like,
he's got like 13 kids he ignores, by the way, everyone.
Look at that. Can a bullet go through 13 kids in a row? Let's find out.
Can we do like a slow-mo guys video of like, how many panes of glass does the bullet make it through in slow motion, but instead it's like, how many of the Elon Musk children?
Do you know what
I don't want children to get murdered.
Money for the slow-mo guys to film Mark Zuckerberg throwing one unguarded punch at Elon Musk's face in super slow-mo.
I want the hypothetical. I don't want actual children murdered. As much as I'm not a child person, I do not want innocent
Elon Musk,
children to be killed. I want that on record to clarify.
Yeah, but bringing it back to, I remember that happening, and I remember seeing the fallout to it, and Dave Grohl was mostly indifferent to it. It was just like, because he just sat down and they told him, like, yeah, Taylor Swift fans are really mad. It's like, I was the drummer for Nirvana.
But people were like coming after his daughter.
And she always went, my dad was the drummer for Nirvana. It's like, fuck.
But like, people knew that, and like, just people were like, instead of attacking Dave Grohl, he started going after his kid because she was more available on social media. It's like, go fuck off.
Which is what we talked about earlier, right? Of some people just don't realize that the person at the end of the computer is another person.
But anyway.
And they think what they're doing is helping defend the artist. We've asked Taylor Swift, like, would you like it if your fans attack people in your name? She's like, no, I'd rather they just buy my albums.
Because she has to arrive into the stage in like fake cleaning cabinets because she knows people are crazy. Have you seen the shit that she gets wheeled into?
Oh yeah, because just her fans would like literally tear her apart.
Yeah, like literally just. Oh, don't worry, we're just a cleaning crew, and they've had to find out new ways to do it because people are figuring it out.
So when she's in a fucking private plane, right? At what point is one of her fans going to try and crash into it?
Like, let's shove a billionaire into a fucking cleaning cabinet and wheel her onto stage because we know people are that unhinged. Jesus Christ. But anyway, yes. The one thing that I wanted to mention in regards to Sleep Token is that listening to the Sleep Token latest album, right? Again, talented people, way more talented than me, very experimental. However, I listen to that and I go, they would not make it without the vibes in terms of pop.
Yeah, it's the aesthetic, right? And honestly, the aesthetic is half of the show. We mentioned like Lady Gaga earlier. She would not be half successful if not for that initial interest in just the visuals.
That's what
visual
I find
component is weirdly enough a big part of music.
Is because like it's the difference between I've heard stuff like that previously, but the difference is that they've like branded and marketed themselves so well, and they lean into the bit again of like the albums are called offerings, their gigs are called rituals. They lean into it in the lyrics and the vibe.
They dress up on stage, and when you go to one of their shows, you're getting a visual component to the show. It's like there's very few musicians and artists who can just purely stand on the strength of their artistry. And one example that springs to mind is Tracy Chapman. You familiar with Tracy Chapman, the singer?
Not particularly, no.
So she sung Fast Car. And you like that's the one that everyone knows. If you don't know, if you've heard the opening like lick to Fast Car, you know what I'm talking about. But essentially, there's a really famous video out there of her like a giant concert, and she just walks out on stage with an acoustic guitar, no backing band, nothing like that, and just starts playing. And by the end of it, she's got the entire stadium just eating out of the hand. Or like the more famous one of like Freddie Mercury from Live Aid, right?
Yeah.
Where he walks out on stage without the band and just sings, just does his vocal warm-ups, and the entire crowd is like just in his hands.
I think the band are there, but like
the
they're
band
not
are there,
doing
but
anything.
Like, in that moment, they are there for Freddie.
Yeah, like I was gonna bring up Queen as a great example of like it's not all about this either, because Freddie Mercury did it on the back of Freddie Mercury. Like, and again, there is some branding and stuff to Freddie Mercury in himself, but like Freddie Mercury just was Freddie and did it, and like they didn't need like this artistry of the branding, and in an extent they did, but they didn't need to like wear like masks.
The strength of their performance was enough. Like just his voice, like I said, he's there. It's him, a microphone, and his voice, and he owns that crowd.
The one thing I'll say is, like, I listen to Sleep Token's music.
Yes.
And I think it is highly helped by the branding, marketing, etc., of the whole show. about it. But when I listen to, for example, either Corey Taylor or Slipknot, one and the same, but Corey Taylor's solo stuff as well. When I listen to Corey Taylor or Slipknot, just listening to it in headphones, not knowing anything about the masks and the visuals, the performance, I think they become as successful as they are almost regardless. I think they are like just supremely excellent at the music that they create.
And like the visual component is like just it adds to it.
It adds to
the
Whereas Sleep Token, I don't necessarily know that that's the case.
And how much of that is because you're not the biggest fan of the band, and maybe if you're more into the band or listen to more of their
I'm
stuff,
I'm not a big Slipknot fan.
Okay.
I'm not really a fan of Slipknot, but I listen to Slipknot and I go, "Oh, these guys are like they've got some."
I will say though, I'm not the biggest Slipknot fan, but if I'm in co-op and fucking Duality starts playing, I'll get up there.
Exactly right, like exactly. I'm not a Slipknot fan, but when a Slipknot song plays when I'm in co-op, and I'm like, dun 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 dun. There's nothing that grab my attention like that when it came to Sleep Token, and I find it fascinating because this is not just like a case with Sleep Token or Attack on Sleep Token. I just find it really cool and interesting the difference between like making it on the merit of just the music alone or making it on the music and brand, and it's an entire industry. Like there's a reason it's an industry, and like I'm not here to again slight Sleep Token. I think they've done a great job
using it as a jumping off point for a conversation.
Just using it as an example of just like, no, this is a band and people that have like made the most of every element of it. Again, I'm a big fan of baby metal, for example.
Yeah, and like a lot of their success as performers is the performance, right? When you said you went to watch one of their shows, of course the music is fun and interesting to listen to, but if they didn't have like the full fucking dance routines on stage, right?
Yeah, like half of the band are never mentioned because like the guitarists and bassists and drummers and stuff in the back, like they're not baby metal. But if I went to go see baby metal without them, there's no baby metal. And like, it's not to disparage them. Baby metal are one of my favorite bands of all time, and they rely a lot on those backup artists that never get credit. They rely a lot on collaborations,
a lot of their visuals,
their dance routines, their visuals, you know, everything they have as a brand around them. Like they are fantastic at doing. They've replaced members, as many bands do, and continued on, and they still kept like
the ship of baby metal Theseus.
Yeah, exactly, and the fucking Guns N' Roses, Wolf Mothers examples are maybe the best ones I can think of off the top of my head, where like every single member has been replaced like multiple times around the one singer.
You mentioned earlier, you mentioned the Sugar Babes. I just realised it's Destiny's Child you were talking about. The Sugar Babes are British. Destiny's Child was. So, but like, someone's probably going to correct us in the comments for that one. But I just remember like we said, "Oh yeah, Sugar Babes," because the Sugar Babes, like every member of that band was replaced, but they're still the Sugar Babes. And then the original Sugar Babes formed their own group. Yeah, and they couldn't call themselves the Sugar Babes, but they didn't have the balls to call themselves like the Honey, like women or something.
The Honey Hive.
Oh, the Honey.
But like, yeah, the Sugar Babes got replaced entirely. And then all of the three original Sugar Babes wanted to come back as the Sugar Babes. But now the new, I say, like, ship of Theseus mentality. Like, the current Sugar Babes were still active, but they weren't any of the original Sugar Babes.
You mentioned like Robbie Williams, right? Take That, right? How many members of that band quit over the years and disappeared? You had, like, half that band disappeared.
By the end of it, it was 3 of the 5, wasn't it, right? Of like Gary Barlow and Robbie Williams were both out because Gary Barlow came back and Robbie Williams didn't.
Yeah, and there was a load of shit over that. He didn't pay his fucking taxes.
And then Gary Barlow, like, I think more than anything, he just was like, "I'm too successful on X Factor for this shit."
And then he didn't pay his taxes, and he's like, "Can I come back, guys?"
Yeah, and then he got absolutely ripped apart. But yeah, it's just a fascinating like example of I do think they make very interesting music. They're just not my vibe. But
Yeah, you're not your man, but it's been an interesting conversation. I did look up like Tracy Chapman's, like her album is just called Tracy Chapman.
oh no,
Like legit one of my favorite albums. I don't talk about it much. It's like it's not an album you could play for someone, but I would recommend if you like, later on, if you just sat there and you want some background music, just put the Tracy Chapman album on and just listen. Because my dad used to listen to this in the car of his like calming music. And it's like it's proper good, just like background music of just like this is a lady and a guitar, and it's fucking incredible.
That's really cool, yeah. And like I listened to all of the latest album back to front, like 56 minutes, about 40 minutes in, and checked how long was left. But it's not necessarily for me, but I'm so like excited for that band because hey, not only is it a British band doing well in America and Britain, which is like again really notable, but also just like they've gone from just being a few people that were doing quite well to people that are number one on the fucking charts in both countries, and like bringing weird experimental non-mainstream music to
always appreciate, because like the reason I don't listen to the radio is I don't like pop music, and every time there's a band who like is a band and not just a singer or an artist, like it's an actual band, I do find that interesting.
It's really interesting. Like I'd much rather listen to any of their songs than like the typical pop shit that you get on radios most of the time as number ones, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm super appreciative, and there's a reason I made the effort to want to talk about them respectfully, hopefully, and listen to their entire album.
Lucas,
today before
your entire social media's been doxxed. The Sleet Token fans
I know.
already know where you live.
People have found out my real identity. They've figured out who's behind the mask. It's awful. It's awful. They figured me out.
Then they were looking up. We can't attack that Carl dude because he might be Sleep Token.
He might be.
Well, someone in chat mentioned earlier a joking theory is that it was like Bo Burnham. So if it was Bo Burnham, I'd have easily got away with it, right? I'd have so easily got away if they thought it was Bo Burnham. It's like perfect. I still need to meet that guy. I could shake his hand and say you're a very handsome man.
Just riff for me 1 second.
Are you putting a picture of Bo Burnham on
screen? No. I'm googling someone else.
This is a guy who looks like me as well.
Riff Carl.
So I'm not happy about this. I'm not happy about this new law that's dropping.
Google it.
What are you doing, Lucas?
I need you to fill in for me for a second.
I'm trying to fill in. I don't really know what to say. It's just me on my own. But I guess I'll like give shout outs. Like go listen to the Tracy Chapman album if you're out there. Like it is like an absolute fucking bop. I've got it in the background right now. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna put some Tracy Chapman. Well, baby, I'm gonna stop it and listen to it properly later. I'm gonna add it to my playlist. There we go.
Is it? Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a big listen later. Before I go to bed.
There's another good example of like people using masks and stuff right now.
Okay.
Where, there was a band, a British rock band called President, and they were announced as it was maybe Download, but a festival announced them as like a main stage attraction, right? I believe so. Anyway, it was they were on a stage, a Download, or another rock festival in Britain this year, and they're completely unknown. They've never released a song. People are like, the fuck is going on? What is going on? And it was a masked person, like as like a mystery band called President. And then it turns out, like after a bit of media hype and stuff, that it was fucking Charlie Simpson from Busted.
Oh, because he's still trying to act as if he's a real musician.
He's a real musician. Simpson. He's in fucking Busted. You leave him alone.
No, it's the thing about Charlie Simpson. Okay, what do you do then? When we talk about pretension, Charlie Simpson is that.
So the solo artist, lead singer of Fight Star, and part of the band Busted, announced that they were a new band, or part of a new band, President. and it was like, you know what? I can't be mad because I love Busted.
And that's the thing, though. Joe who hates Busted, Charlie Simpson.
Yeah.
So let's clarify. So Busted were a British pop band. They were like the most bubblegum pop
So
boy band.
any American watching right now, if you
our
know
equivalent of like
if you know the Jonas Brothers, quote unquote, Jonas Brothers song, Year 3000, that's a Busted song.
Yes, that they allowed them to call. Like, if you think like Jonas Brothers, like NSYNC, that sort of thing. And they were a really fun band.
Excellent
band, they were really popular, and then they kind of died off because that genre of music just wasn't popular anymore. And Charlie Simpson is like, you know what? Fuck being in that band. I'm a real musician. I'm going to start a band called Fight Star, which was fine. The problem is that Charlie Simpson got really big for his britches and talks about how he was a real musician making actual music. Do not talk to him about Busted. And if he got asked about Busted in interviews, he'd stand up and walk out.
By the way, he's also come back to McBusted and Busted multiple times.
And if you want to do that, fine. But then Busted and another band called McFly joined forces to create a boy band supergroup. Because they're like, well, we're all 30 now. Millennials like our music, and they've all got disposable income. Let's just combine forces and just do a greatest hits performance of all our favourite songs.
Also, the drummer from McFly is also the drummer for a lot of Busted. Harry.
Yeah, and they switched, and that's what I think McFly like spun off from Busted, right?
It was like a lot of people that basically were denied from being Busted made McFly.
And when they were like,
and there's a lot of crossover, yeah.
And when they were popular in the charts, like they were billed as competing with one another, but they revealed like we were all friends, like, you know, we were making the same kind of music, we knew each other. So we're going to make a new band called McBusted, like bury the hatchet even though there wasn't one, but for the sake of publicity we will.
Yeah.
And hey, Charlie, do you want to come be in Busted because Fight Star just died on its ass and no one listened to it? And he's like, no, I'm a real musician, I'm not doing that.
So
a year later, he's like sheepishly coming back. I'm like, can I be in McBusted, please?
Yeah, the original McBusted tour, Charlie said no. Then came back for like more McBusted and more Busted. But yeah, the original McBusted like live show that I saw, Charlie was not there. He was the only one out of the 7 that didn't appear.
And in the press, he was really brutal. Like, it's not real music. You'd never find me dead doing that. And then he saw how much money it made.
It was cool.
Yeah, and then how much money it made, and then he came back, and he didn't even have the balls to say he wanted the money. Because he went and went, no, I thought if I came back, I can steer the band to be an actual band. And it's like, fuck off! Just say you wanted money!
And then they went in like this weird like electronic direction for Busted as well.
And you know that
Busted
was him,
came back, and it was weird, but he always like considered like Fight Star as like more of a band than Busted were, and it's weird. And yeah, President, their new band, will perform on the Dogtooth stage at Download on June 15th. And it's like,
so they've not got a single song.
So they've weren't even a band. People were like, why the fuck is this band that doesn't exist on a Download stage?
That speaks to his like the pretension as an artist of like, because you're not going to get the main stage at Download if people don't know one of your songs. But he's like, no, people don't need to know our songs to sing along because they'll listen to them for the first time and then they'll be hooked. Do you know that's his thinking, right? Of like, we're going to play our song and everyone's going to love it.
I've not listened to Fight Star. I love Busted. They weren't obviously involved in most of McBusted. And Charlie Simpson as an individual solo artist is good as well. He's got a great voice. He's very talented. Won't take that away from him. He's just, it seems like he's a bit of a dick, but like, I will have to. Hayden says like 5 stars. Like maybe by next podcast, I will listen to like a few songs of Fight Star and give my opinion because
it's because my ex was really into Fight Star and never shut the fuck up about Fight Star, and it just
neither
made me think
did Charlie.
And every time I saw him in an interview, I was like, "You're such a prick."
And then he turned around and pulled the whole mass musician thing of it. Yeah, we're a Download and no one will know who we are.
And like people are gonna love our music. They don't even need to know our album to know they're gonna like it. And it's like, so you know, everyone else on that stage has an album, right? Like Dolly Parton's played at fucking like Download.
Look, I'm sure that Matt knows that he looks 20 years older than every other person on that stage, but he's still not the biggest band. It's like
It's like you said, it just smacks of pretend. Maybe it's not, but like you can, it's very difficult to not read it as.
it always came across as like he feels he's better than Busted and everything. Yeah,
He's bigger than the band.
mm-hmm. Again, I enjoy his work. I've enjoyed everything I've listened to, even though I haven't listened to Fight Star. But like, it always just came across as like he thinks he's better than the like poppy shit that he made back in the past.
It's like, you know what? Real artists appreciate the nonsense. Like David Bowie was happy when he did his like farewell tour, and he asked his fans to decide what song they wanted to sing, and there was a fan campaign to have him sing "The Happy Little Gnome," which is like a joke song he did for an advert. And he's like, you know what? If that's the song my fans want me to sing, I'll sing "The Happy Little Gnome" or something to that effect. And he sung it on stage.
And you know what? Look forward to this weekend where I didn't want to talk about it, but Carl and all of the fans wanted me to watch and talk about the fucking 1992 Robin Williams movie, Toys.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll talk about a Fight Star and we'll put loads of their music into the video just to see if Charlie Simpson
Of
copyright
course,
strikes
it'll be
them.
copyright struck.
No, but I wonder if Charlie Simpson himself would copyright strike it.
But yeah, I honestly, I'm not gonna say I enjoy my time. I enjoy my time making a video
Yes.
for Toys. Because
Things like
God
I've got, like,
fucking damn,
massive
that's a movie that is.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I've probably been a bit harsh on Charlie Simpson. I respect his
You've
artistry.
been very harsh on Charlie Simpson. Like, I think they're a very talented person, but they do come across as a bit of a wank.
There's just something about acting, like the fact that he was like shitting on the band. It's like, you can do that, but then you can't crawl back later. And if you do crawl back later because you want more money, have the balls to stand there in the press and say, I was wrong, I like money.
They not only came back to Busted, but they also came back and Busted became shite.
Yeah.
Because they became like some weird electronic shit, as I said.
And his stated reason for coming back is he wanted to make it into a real band. It's like, it is a real band. They're selling out fucking stadiums. They're just not playing the music that you like.
You fucking tell me that the Thunderbirds song is not real music.
Exactly! The Thunderbirds song slaps!
Thunderbirds or Go. Every time I hear it, I get hype as shit to this day. That's the best part about that entire Thunderbirds reboot movie.
We mentioned Rick Astley earlier. Like, Rick Astley will always sing Never Gonna Give You Up when he gets asked why. He's like, it's the reason I'm famous.
Yeah.
Why would I not sing the song that made me famous? Or Toto. Mm-hmm. When I went to go see Toto live, when they came on stage and said, everyone knows this one. It wouldn't be one of our shows without it, and played Africa. Of course they do.
Like, obviously, that's what I go to school for. It would be real creepy if it was written from the other perspective. But if it's written as like, do you remember when we were all 14 and had hearts for a teacher? It's like, kinda, yeah. Yeah. The music video got a bit
Van Halen
too far,
did it, Hot for Teacher, like Stacey's
yeah,
mom.
exactly. Like, we've all been kids and interested in mature people.
I think it was Van Halen who did Hot for Teacher, I'm not sure.
Yeah. No. Oh. No, my brain's gone blank. Let's Google Hot for Teacher quickly before people.
Let's find out.
Van Halen, yeah.
Yes,
I remember it being like a Guitar Hero rock band song, but that's as far as it goes for me. Like, Van Halen was never one I got into. It was always like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Queen. They were like the ones I was into, like Beatles, classic artists. Van Halen.
But either way,
get me by a bit.
I've got way more respect for someone who's like, I just wanted money.
Oh, always. Yeah. 100%.
And just the fact that I was never aware of like Charlie Simpson, just admit that you wanted money. And I'd have been fine with it.
And if they did, correct us. I never remember Charlie Simpson turning around and just admitting like, fuck it, I'm back to Busted for money. I don't remember that, at least.
I always remember just like his really like pointed comments about like making it real music. It's like
with Fight Star, yeah. Like, well, I believe that Year 3000 is real.
Is
Charlie?
Yeah, it's a good song.
It's better than any Fight Star song I've ever heard.
It's also what they all talk about as well, right? When they got asked, like, "Oh, were you mad that Jonas Brothers covered your song?" It's like, no, because
we
like,
earned
we
a
rich.
shit ton of money off it for years.
It's like it's Blur who did song 2, and like, then does it annoy you that that's now like just this song that everybody hates because it's the song they play at football stadiums when they score a goal? Like, no, so we get paid like $1,000 every time they do that.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, we enjoy that shit. Speaking of Blur, yeah, another fucking like random anonymous supergroup in the Gorillas, right?
Oh yeah.
Just like half the band is just people from Blur.
Was it Blur who had like the showdown and the rivalry with like Oasis?
I believe so, yeah. Like the Britpop movement was Oasis
Britpop
versus.
fucking sucked.
Either way, it's shit, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which of the two you pick. Britpop is fucking awful.
I do not like Oasis.
Oasis and the Gallagher twins, or brothers, can suck my dick, as far as I'm concerned.
The best thing the Gallaghers have put out is that video of Liam Gallagher making a cup of tea.
Honestly, I think the best thing Gallagher related might have been when Lewis Capaldi entered like the BBC Radio 1 live stage, taking the piss at one of the Gallagher brothers, like just dressed with like the shitty ass like fucking combat jacket and the wig, and just was like taking the piss out of them. Like, that might have been the best thing surrounding Oasis.
I think it's well because I grew up during the Britpop movement, and all I heard is this Britpop sounds so fucking lame. It's so lame.
Just Wonderwall's a shit song.
There's a reason why, like, it's the most hated song to put like karaoke or for
There's
like if
a
a guy
lot.
whips out a guitar at a party.
There's a lot of okay Oasis songs. Wonderwall is not one of them.
Oh man, like just when they're like Champagne Supernova at a wedding, it's like Champagne Super, and it's like, oh fuck,
That's
oh,
that's a better song than Wonderwall is, though. It's a better song than Wonderwall.
Oh, I did the other day. I was out with a friend of mine who were in a bar, and they started playing the Smiths. And I just looked and went, I fucking hate the Smiths. And they went, no, you hate Morrissey. And I went, either way. Because I used to date a girl who would exclusively play the Smiths when we had sex. And one time she didn't have sex with me because I said, I don't like the Smiths. She said, why not? I went, because Morrissey is just like, ha, 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 ha. And she went, that's not what he sounds like.
Okay,
It's like, it's really
The Cure, The Madness, like, oh god, I just
shoegaze and stuff, yeah.
Jesus Christ, can't stand it. I'd rather listen to Token.
I'd rather like shit in my hands and clap.
It's also true.
I would rather nail my dick to a glass coffee table.
I was trying to round the conversation out, but yeah, sure. Let's do that instead. Thank you all for watching, and have a lovely day.
See you all next time.